story opened with someone drawing on the ground while praying for a great being to respond to the summon. This man requested fame, fortune, power, and wealth. He was desperate since it was the only way he could cure his mother's illness, pay off their debts, and live a better life. He received 3 notifications on his phone. First is that his application for the consumer loan has been denied, and he has a current balance of $110,000, which was due in a day. His total debt amounted to 100,031,891,200 yuan. If payment is not made on time, total debt will increase by 5%. The last text message he received is from someone who was angrily looking for him. This man begged the great being to have mercy on him and care for him. He was willing to offer his humble soul and body to become his servant. He prayed to him to make him his star. Suddenly, lightning struck. It made the man fall on his back. He eventually gained his consciousness. His head hurts. He was also confused because he knew that the last thing he was doing was working on a project at the office. He hurried since he still has unfinished work. But he was surprised when he saw his reflection in a puddle. He was confused if that was really him. He questioned why his face looked like that. He was even more surprised when he saw what's ahead of him. It was a gigantic, almost translucent magical tree. He had no idea where he was. Suddenly, someone congratulated him. His eyes widened in shock. The great being told him that he successfully summoned him, and as a reward, he may make 3 wishes. It could be anything. His jaw dropped when he saw a talking book. He yelled that it doesn't even exist on Earth. It made him start believing that he really transmigrated. He realized it was his cheat, but he thinks that 3 wishes is a bit low since he had seen others have some unlimited use. He stated his first cheat, to be granted 10 more wishes. The book was amused. It suddenly emitted dark energy around it while stating that it thought that there was a problem with the contract, but it realized that it wasn't the case. The man looked terrified upon seeing this creature towering over him. The great being showed his true form, a gigantic monster-like creature that looked terrifying. He realized that there was a new soul in the man's body. The man turned pale and asked him what he was and what he meant. The great being replied that he's not worthy of knowing who he was. He only needs to know that the original owner of the body used his soul and body to make a wish to him. He explained that he took the soul, but the body should belong to him, and yet this new soul occupied it, which led him to think that the soul in the body should be owned by him too. He wasn't happy about how he was transported. What's worse is that what he thought was a cheat to help him was something that would possess him instead. He knew he had to run right away. But the great being had something to tell him, that once a contract was formed, even the slightest intent to break it will bring excruciating torment as punishment. He screamed loudly in agony as fire engulfs his body. The great being was disappointed to see that it was just a weak soul after all. He wanted it to just die already. But our MC spoke about the content of the contract. He stated that if the breach of contract is caused by force majeure, then party B is exempt from liability, and if he can't fulfill the contract because of his interference, it will be the great being's responsibility. Therefore, he knew he couldn't be killed because of breach of contract. The great being was dumbfounded that a mere mortal wanted to talk about rules with him. The man knew that he was a powerful being, and he could have easily taken his life, but he didn't, which led him to think that the man was testing him. He concludes that he was testing him for a suitable candidate. He asked him if he qualifies to sign a new contract with him. It made the great being laugh out loud. He finds the man very interesting. He was the first one who dared to negotiate with him. Since the boy piqued his interest, he offered him the contract. He had decided that if he could grant him 1 wish in exchange, he would give him a new life. And the great being's wish was 999 more wishes. Then he pressured the man by saying that he doesn't have much time to think. The man muttered that he's so shameless or copying his wish. The great being reminded him that he has 1 minute before he loses consciousness and dies. Then he asked him if he had made up his mind. Of course, the man had no other choice. He signed the soul contract wherein it stated that the contractor pledges with their soul that in that life they shall devote loyalty to the contract holder and must fulfill 999 conditions set by the contract holder. The contract holder may grant rewards when conditions are met. This was signed by the contractor, Zhou Chen. Later that night, Chen found his home. His clothes were all tattered like a homeless person, so he hoped that no one saw him like that. He couldn't believe that bastard boss dumped him there like that. He was told earlier that the boss would find him when he needs him, but in the meantime, he can do whatever he wants. He expected to be working like a mule, but he had no choice but to obey the boss. And there was no point complaining now. He decided to take it 1 step at a time. He unlocked the door, and when he looked inside, it was dark. He looked around and saw that no one was home, so it made him think that the family situation was even worse than he thought. To his surprise, there was a blood loan collateral from Zumel all at once. It made him curious about what's going on with that family. Suddenly, someone yelled, "Hey, you brat!" Then he was hit on the head with a pipe. The man asked him where he had been all this time. He was angry that the brat ignored all his calls. The man had 2 lackeys with him. He was furious that the brat complained about being sick of living. The man on his left tried to remind him not to beat the guy to death, while the other one on his left told him that it was fine since the kid's tough as nails. Chen asked them who they are. The man beat him up while asking him if he had already forgotten the loan from last week. Then he asked why the woman hadn't shown up to sell blood to pay his debt. He wondered if she died somewhere. Then he commented that the brat's mom was a moron for willingly risking her life to take out high-interest loans for trash like him. He drilled into him that trash will always be trash. He pointed out how someone born as trash, a talentless trash, kept dreaming about turning things around, and all that debt just got him barely to the lowest profit rank. He stated that the brat and the old hag were not even worthy to carry his shoes. There was a time when he was asked if he wanted to give up being a prophet. He replied to his mother yes, because he doesn't want her to suffer anymore. He shared that he had a nightmare last night that his mom had to do handwork every day until she collapsed from exhaustion and never got up again. He doesn't want her mom to end up like that. He was worried that she would never wake up one day, and that he might not become a prophet, but his mother assured him that it will be okay. She promised him that even if the sky falls, she would hold it up, and advised him that he only needs to believe in himself more. After remembering that, his eyes glowed brightly. The man called his attention, and asked why he isn't saying anything. Suddenly, the man's face met the brat's fist. It threw him on the other side of the room. The other man who had his back turned told him to stop because the kid might die if he kept hitting him. But to their surprise, the man flew past them. After receiving that blow, the man broke most of his teeth and lost consciousness. His friends were confused because it was supposed to be the kid in that state. They realized something was wrong. Then they saw the aura of the kid, and they couldn't believe that he broke through to star level. Chen asked them what's wrong with wanting to rise from the bottom. He told them to shut up because they were annoying, especially with their whiny crap. The men were annoyed with his arrogant behavior, despite being just an E-class stage 2. The other man urged him to teach the brat a lesson. They thought about crippling one of the brat's limbs. Chen wondered if the oracle in E-class stage 2 they're talking about was the power inside him, and judging from their behavior, he expects that their level was higher than his. The man charged at him, but he could clearly see all their movements. The man tried to hit him, but left a dent on the floor instead. He wondered where he was. To his surprise, Chen appeared behind him and kicked him down. The other man couldn't believe he could do that when he's just an E-class stage 2. He wondered how he could be that fast and strong. He positioned on Chen's blind spot to break his ribs, but Chen kicked backwards and hit him on the chest. He was surprised that Chen knew about it without even looking at his position. He wondered how Chen became so strong. When Chen approached him, he begged to be spared. He reasoned that they were just following orders from Lin Yu. They were told to come collect the debt. Chen asked about Lin Yu. He instructed the man to tell Yu that he will pay back the debt. Then he wanted him to take others and get lost. The man ushered them out. Chen watched them. He knew that the boss was just watching. The boss was impressed that he could sense his presence with his sharp intuition. Chen replied that he felt a strange power inside him, so he figured that he was getting help from him in secret. The boss replied that he was right. Had he not lent him a bit of power just then, he'd probably be nothing but a meat paste, so he should be grateful. Chen was pleased to have confirmed that the boss was his golden finger. He stated that if he could lend his power all the time, he'd be afraid of no one. The boss told him that he's dreaming. He uttered that his power wasn't something a mere mortal like him can use. He told him that he just got lucky that he didn't exceed the limit. Otherwise, he would have dropped dead before they even touched him. Chen was shocked to find out that working for him doesn't come with any perks. He suggested that if he became stronger, it would be easier to complete his wishes. The boss assured him that according to the contract, he will give him a helpful reward. But he hasn't thought of what it will be yet. Though he clarified that if he's thinking of borrowing his power again, he should forget it, unless he has a death wish. Chen wasn't happy with it, but he agreed to it. Deep inside, the boss was thinking how the kid exceeded his expectations. Not only did he borrow more power than he expected, he controlled it pretty well too. He wondered if he's his fated point. Chen asked him if he had decided on his second wish. The boss was confused, so he elaborated that he mentioned that he wanted him to help fulfill his wishes. The boss replied that he hadn't thought about it yet, but he stated that he had plenty of wishes already, and when the time is right, Chen would understand it. Chen asked him what he's supposed to do now. He replied that he can do whatever he wants. Chen seemed frustrated with his answer, mainly because he knew nothing about the world, and there was so much to figure out. He was hoping that he would make a wish and give him some direction, but he could tell that it's not going to happen. He checked the previous owner's phone, which he found on the rooftop. He knew that if he's going to live as that guy from then on, he should learn more about him. He saw that all the messages are all about debts and online purchases for things like supplements. It made him realize that being a prophet cost a lot. He also observed that there's not a single message about his family. Until a single message shook him. It was from his big sister, who informed him that their mother fell into a coma and was hospitalized. She told him to go to Tianlin Hospital. At Tianlin Hospital. He arrived full of worry. He saw a woman sitting by the foot of the bed. He could tell that the atmosphere is a little awkward, but he could understand that anyone would be mad if something important as that would be ignored. He guessed that the woman sitting with her shoulder hunched was his sister, Zhou Yueqing, and the person in the hospital bed was his mom. When he saw her, he couldn't help but think she looked different from his memories. He wondered if it was because of him. He apologized to her sister for being late, then asked her how she was. She asked him what his excuse was this time. She asked if it was a training, a breakthrough, or could it be that he's busy summoning gods and doing things? That made him speechless. She stated that their mom worked hard to pay his debts until the moment she collapsed. It made her angry that he couldn't even come see her once when she gave him everything. She yelled that his whole family gave him everything. She added that just to pay his debts, their mom couldn't even afford the ICU. She pulled through with sheer willpower, and their mom almost died. Her tears fell, and with a resigned body language, she expressed that her and their mom were both tired. She gave him a card with 6 months of living expenses and told him that from then on, she'll take care of mom and it would have nothing to do with him. Then she told him to pay the rest of his debt himself, because it would have nothing to do with them anymore. He was surprised and slightly fearful of what it meant. Then her sister made it clear that she's cutting ties with him. When he went outside the hospital, the boss expressed that he could feel his anxiety. He asked if that woman's words hit him hard. But he pointed out how that woman was practically a stranger to him, and the reality wasn't even his fault. Chen commented that he didn't expect the boss to be the comforting type. Then he told him that he's fine, and was just reminded of his past. Back then, he was the same, wanting to say something but not being able to get a word out. The boss told him not to let the mess delay his wish. Chen confirmed with him that if he had proven his value to him, he would help him grow stronger. And as long as he becomes strong enough, he can make up for all of this. The boss promised him that as long as he proves his worth. The boss thought about him being his fated point. He hoped that kid wouldn't bring him down. At Right City Yaoye Club, specifically in the presidential suite, someone stated that the profits they got weren't bad, so they will keep increasing investment. This was from a man wearing shades with a cigar on his mouth and girls on each of his arms. He also added to contact them and speed up the recovery progress because the higher-ups won't last long. His subordinate understood it and had one more thing to report. According to their investigation, someone from Area A's organization had trouble collecting rent and 3 people were injured by a student. The boss remembers that there's still time before debt collection starts over there. He assumed that those bastards were trying to pocket some extra cash. He complained that it's because of that self-serving trash that fewer and fewer people were coming to him for loans. He told his man to handle it according to rules. His subordinate agreed to punish them, but also stated that it was a special case, because among them were level 3 and level 2 apprentice class thieves. According to the report, the one who hurt them was just a student who just broke through apprentice level 2. The boss asked who it was, and he was given a document. It contained Chen's profile. He couldn't believe that a mere level 2 kid beat both level 3 and level 2. Even the weakest level 3 can handle 10 level 2 5s. He knew that the gap in levels can't be bridged by skill alone. He estimated that the kid's true strength might also be level 3. He finds him interesting for trying to hide his strength. He told his men to keep an eye on him since he doesn't want to waste a talent like that. The next day, Chen was jogging around the neighborhood when an old man noticed him. The old man was impressed that he had been up early these days. Chen greeted him back. Then the old man told him that he just got a few batches of A-grade beginner Starlight supplements, only for 400 per bottle. He asked if he wanted some. Chen refused, since he still had some, but he promised him that he would come to him once he ran out. The old man promised him a discount when he did. The old man noticed how he seemed more cheerful than before. He wondered if he got a girlfriend. After Chen left the hospital, he spent a few days getting used to the body and researching. With some of the original owner's memories fusing into his own, he gained a general understanding of that world's basics. People there took special supplements regularly to gain power, and these people are collectively called oracles. The medicine to become a speaker was extremely expensive, and that's the reason he ended up in such a massive debt. He doesn't know what the upper limit was, but he's certain on one thing, that even the lowest rank oracles are far stronger than normal people. After his workout, he muttered that if just taking medicine can make a person stronger, it was no wonder that people spent a fortune to become oracles. Back in his old life, he'd have had to train forever to get results like that. Suddenly, his phone rang. He wondered who could be calling that early. A loud voice blared through his oracles. It was the class rep, and he was reminded that his leave was over. The teacher asked the rep to tell him to come back to class. The rep called him last night too, so he hoped that he didn't forget. Chen replied that he didn't forget, but deep inside, he almost forgot about it. At Rightlawn High School. The teacher finished discussing the history of oracles, so now they would be talking about their impact on the economy. Chen took down notes. A speaker's status was determined by strength and ranked by title. There's grade E with ranks 1 to 6, grade D with ranks 1 to 8, grade B with ranks 1-12, grade A with ranks 1-14, and lastly, grade S. They must reach the highest level of the current title to break through the next. It was said that those who reached grade S were basically like gods. To match their power, the world was divided into 5 strata. Ordinary people in grade E oracles were in the 5th layer called the outer layer, the very bottom. The 4th layer and above make up the central city strata, symbolizing power and status. Only those grade D and up were allowed in. Chen was currently at the lowest, E grade. If he wanted better resources, he had to get into the central city strata. He made leveling up fast his top priority. Someone threw a pebble on him. He glanced behind him and the bullies were having fun teasing him. They challenged him if he thinks he's hot stuff just because he ranked high on the written test. The other bully replied that they were all at level 1, so it would be easy to knock him out with just a single punch. Chen could only think how there were people like that no matter where he went. The teacher reminded them that there's a fitness test in PE later, so they should change and go on the field. At Right Speaker High Field. In the speaker program, most of the day was just PE class. Chen thinks the curriculum was way too chill. Unexpectedly, someone called out to him. A student elbowed his friend and told him that a fight was about to break out. Seeing that it was those two again, they weren't surprised. The student asked if those bullies don't ever get tired because he had done that several times already, just for that month. His friend warned him not to speak anymore, otherwise he could be targeted next. The bully grabbed Chen's collar and asked him if he enjoys glaring. It had been a few days, and he was still acting tough. The bully told Chen that it didn't matter if his written test scores were good. He mocked him by asking if he's planning to talk to his opponents later. The bully reminded him that in the world of oracles, it was all about levels and powers, and based on his strength, he was just a level 1 piece of trash. Chen answered that by logic, the bully was a level 1 trash too. The bully was caught off guard. That response infuriated him. He was about to punch Chen while screaming that he's going to tear apart his mouth. Chen blocked his fist and asked him if he's done talking. The bully's eyes widened in shock. He was confused about Hat's going on, especially that he can't break free. He wondered if Chen had always been that tall. Chen reminded him of what he said. Everything is power. Then he stated that it's his time to tear his mouth apart now. The bully got scared. Chen released aura from his body as he towered over the bully. But Chen got distracted from an overwhelming pressure. Someone said that he got guts. The teacher asked him who gave them permission to make a scene in his class. This was their PE teacher, Tian Jijia, a grade D level 5. Jijia was annoyed with Chen because he just came back and was already causing trouble. Chen, however, calmly and maturely replied that they were just having a friendly spar. Then he lets the bully go. That was Jiha's first warning to him, and if he messes up again, he could expect him to be rude. Then he gathered everyone for the test. Jijia announced to everyone that they only have 3 months until the graduation exam, and the exchange tournament after graduation was even more important. If they do well in the exchange tournament, not only will they bring glory to the school, they will also get a chance to enter a prestigious academy. And to ensure a strong finish, he specially prepared imported grade A beginner supplements. He sold it for $6,000 so everyone could get a good result. Then they started training. A student did pull up, and at the 24 counts, he couldn't go on further, while the other one was so pumped up that he already reached 50. Chen was just watching, wondering if that was all Oracle's test all about. He thought it was something special. Someone approached him and asked if he's all right. It was the class rep. She was worried because he suddenly took several days off, so she thought something happened to him. She got embarrassed and clarified that she didn't mean to be nosy. It was just that she finds it strange to take a leave so close to graduation. Chen told her he's fine and thanked her for caring. Then she asked him if he wasn't buying the teacher's supplements. He replied that he's out of money. But in his head, he wonders if those expensive supplements were something everyone buys. He's curious if the only one broke in the class. She was worried that if he didn't buy it, it would have an effect on his test result. Suddenly, someone called out to her, Liu Tian Tian. She said goodbye to him, and then she did the pull-ups. She had a really hard time, and her body trembled badly. While she was doing that, Jijia was checking that 25 students bought 2 supplements. When Tian Tian reached 35 pull-ups, he told her that she passed. Chen had observed that the students who bought such expensive supplements received special treatment from the teacher in return. With graduation near, it was understandable that they wanted better scores. But he knew that with his current ability, he probably doesn't need it, and he doesn't have any money left either. Then the last one was called Zhou Chen. The teacher saw that he didn't buy a single bottle of his supplement. He doubted that he would pass without his supplements. He decided to deduct some points to make him fail and use him as an example. Chen inspected the pull-up bar and wrist guards, and it looked normal. But he was cautious that there might be something different about the Oracle's test. He grabbed the bar, and to his surprise, his body suddenly got heavier, and the more strength he uses, the heavier it gets. He wondered if it was because of the crystal on the wrist. Just as he expected, the Oracle's test wasn't that simple. He could tell that the applied weight has a limit, and with his current strength, it was very easy to adapt. It was a rare opportunity, so he tested his limits. Everyone who saw him was shocked at how strong he was. He just did almost 100 in one go, when he barely managed to do 30 before. His current score would equate to a 2nd rank. One student shared that when he saw the elite class 2nd rank, it was basically like that. Chen was done, so he hopped down. His classmates surrounded him and expressed that he was amazing. They told him that with his scores, he could join the elite class. They inquired when he ranked up to 2nd and what was his supplement. The teacher was also curious on how he suddenly improved so much. He wondered if he used enhancers. But he knew enhancers were too expensive for normal people, and using one there would be too extravagant. He wondered if he really reached 2nd rank in the last few days. He got worried that the students would find out that he ranked up without his help because he would no longer be able to sell them. He was resentful towards him since he would cut off his profits, and he wouldn't allow that. He was determined to teach him a valuable social lesson. Meanwhile, at the principal's office, someone was surprised to learn that the exchange meet had canceled the 2nd rank matches. The principal was on the phone, and he expressed that for a school like theirs, that gets no support and has no resources, producing a third rank was so hard. The person on the other line empathized with him, but also explained that the government urgently needs more Oracle elites. That's why they decided to shift funding to the top-ranked schools. It was a decision from above that there was nothing they could do about. The principal tried to ask if there's another way, but the person already hung up. He slammed the phone back. It was such a headache for him, because the elite class's drug supplies and equipment require massive funding, and their school barely has enough resources to maintain a second rank level. In addition, there were only 3 months left before the exchange, so he wondered where they would find a third rank student. He thought about pooling all their resources and gamble on 1/3 rank, but that means expelling a bunch of average performing students. He looked at the crystal on the shelf and asked loudly from his senior what he should do. He was worried that the right Oracle Academy was going to fall during his term. Suddenly, someone knocked on his door. It was Jigjia. He invited him in. Jigjia handed the results of the test to him. Jigjia even expressed that the performance was excellent, and he believed that the class will produce outstanding oracles. When he saw the results, he questioned in his head why Jigjia already called that excellent when it was only first rank. Those useless trash can't be sent to the field. Then Jigjia mentioned that there's one exemption that he thinks wasn't fit to be an oracle. He asked who. Jigjia replied that it was Chen. So Chen was called to the principal's office. The great being asked him what he did for the principal to call him. He replied that he had no idea. Our MC had heard that the principal's personality was strict, so he knew he wasn't called just for a chit-chat. He just hoped that it wasn't that bad. When he touched the door, a small kindle of flame appeared. He was surprised to see it, but it looks like the boss was expecting it. He told Chen that it was the specific condition that triggered the wish that he talked about, which means something he wants was nearby, so Chen better find it. Chen asked why it had to show up now. The boss replied that the wish was triggered, so there's no choice. Unless he wants to get burned, he should do it quietly. The principal asked him why he's just standing there and urged him to come in. He entered and greeted the principal. The principal told him that his physical report wasn't bad. It was actually commendable since it was close to second rank. But as for skipping class, talking back to teachers, beating up his classmates, he could tell that Chen was young and hot-blooded. But that was all irrelevant. He asked Chen if he knew what's most important for an oracle. It was money. So he advised him to give up being an oracle. Chen turned pale. He clarified if the principal was saying that he wants him to drop out. The principal replied that he's right, and he should understand that the cost of being an oracle later would be extremely high, and given his family situation, he suggested that rather than pouring everything into something that might fail, it was better to cut his losses early. The principal knew that based on Chen's physical test results, he could get into the special class, but with the school on the brink of survival, instead of letting a mediocre student into a special class, it was better to focus on resources on nurturing valuable students. So he thought that if they can cultivate even one level 3 student before the exchange competition, there might still be hope. Then he told Chen that if he agrees, they can refund his tuition. He added that he doesn't even have to come tomorrow. He asked what he thought about it. While they were talking, the great being in a book form noticed something. It was the black crystal on the shelf. He told the kid that he found the target, so he should hurry up and get it for him. Chen replied that he's already struggling himself, and suggested that he grabs it then. The boss replied that if he could, he would have done it already, but the contract stipulates that it must completely belong to Chen for him to obtain it. Chen was in a troublesome situation. He had to go to the middle city to repay the debt, but going there requires D-level and also an Oracle graduation certificate. And that school was the only Oracle high school in the city. For the graduation certificate and the crystal, he shouldn't be expelled. He took a deep breath to calm himself down. He knew it wasn't a dead end yet. As far as he remembers, since the founding of Light Yuzhui, students have only reached E2 level at most. That means to the school, a student above level 2 is without a doubt extremely valuable. So, if he's already at E2 level, he knew he could level up right away. He remembered that the boss said before that there was a reward that could help with his wish. He told the boss that if he hadn't decided yet, he could choose it himself instead. The boss replied yes. The boss had sensed what he wanted. The reward that he requested was borrowed power. The boss refused him because his body can't handle any more of his power. Chen just got lucky that he didn't explode before. Chen replied that he cannot afford to be expelled there, because if he gets expelled, it would be a long time for another chance to reach the middle city, and the boss's wish might not come true either. He told the boss to trust him. The boss was left speechless. Then he told him that whatever happens, it's not his problem. The contract appeared stating that the contractor grants the contractee the reward, which means the contractee can borrow from the contractor anytime, anywhere, and all consequences were borne by the contractee. Contractee accepted that. Given that he was just standing there, it prompted the principal to ask if he still needed something. He requested that the principal test his score again, and then decide whether he gets to stay or leave. The principal accepted it and offered his hand. Through that handshake, the principal evaluated that he's level 2, higher than what the report suggested, but it was still far from enough. Meanwhile, Chen was thinking that he only had one chance, and he's uncertain on how far he could go. So he wanted to get as much power as possible. The aura around his hand brightened. The principal was surprised. The aura became overwhelming. Even the boss didn't expect that the kid's outburst would be much stronger than what he had given him. The principal was taken aback and curious on how his level suddenly soared. In an instant, He became a full level 4. Chen asked him what he thinks now. The principal realized that heaven never seals all paths. He requested Chen to represent their school in the district exchange competition. Chen was dumbfounded. They sat down for a chat. Basically, the principal wanted him to join the district exchange competition level 4 group to show results to the Ministry of Education. The principal explained that competing in the level group was the highest honor for all the Yuzhe high schools. Their school has been ranked at the bottom for years, and if they don't show some results soon, the ministry will cut funding, so they wanted to focus teacher resources on promising students, and that is why they misunderstood him. He hoped that he wasn't upset. Chen replied that he understands. The principal was happy to hear that. And to show their apologies, Chen's tuition fees will be waived. After transferring to the special class, his weekly supply of beginner star energy supplements will increase from 3 to 6. He asked Chen what he thinks of that, and if there's anything else that he needs, the school will try to meet them. He told Chen that as an outstanding student, he will be welcomed anywhere, but he still sincerely hoped he considers representing their school in the exchange competition. And not to exaggerate, but he told him that his decision would determine the survival of the school. Since the principal was offering that much, he realized that it must be important to him. Chen asked what he would do if he wanted the black crystal on the cabinet. The principal explained that it was crafted from a special star crystal the former principal brought back from the Middle City. It doesn't have much use, but it symbolizes the school's spirit. But he knew that if the school was gone, the spirit would mean nothing. So if Chen could save the school, giving it to him was completely justified. Chen assured him that he will do his best in the exchange competition. With that, the deal was settled. However, the principal was curious on how his level rose so much so quickly. He replied that he was training to hide his power. He shared that it was sort of a special training technique, and he was still practicing it, so he hoped that the principal could keep his level a secret. The principal understood. It was because the principal knew that hiding one's level is a technique users use in battle to confuse opponents. He didn't expect such awareness from someone so young. He assured him that he won't tell anyone. He expressed how assured he was to leave the future in Chen's hands. Then a woman came in. He instructed her to take Chen to the special class at once and handle the supplements as he requested. She ushered Chen and explained that the entire second floor is for the special class. Next thing they would do is to register. Chen thanked the teacher. She was curious about his relationship with the principal because she had never seen him so happy. Chen simply replied that they just got along. Meanwhile, someone was running at full speed towards Chen. The man grabbed Che's arms and told him that he really tried his best to plead with the principal, but in the end, he couldn't change his mind. He argues that even if his grades were average, he still has the right to learn. He hoped that after Chen dropped out, he would keep working hard and not give up. The teacher asked him what he's talking about. She clarified that he's transferring to the special class tomorrow, and he was just about to take him to register. Then she told Jijia that the principal wanted to see him. She also shared that the principal was very angry. He knew he was screwed. Nighttime came. Chen was back in his room. He laid on the bed thinking that he had to go from level 2 to 4 in 3 months, and he had no idea how to do that. Even rich prodigies take tons of money and time to level up just once. A poor guy like him leveling up twice in 3 months seemed impossible. He asked the boss if there was a way he could level up all at once by himself. The boss asked him how there could be. And if he wanted his help again, he had to fulfill his wish first. He told him to blame himself for picking such a reward. Our boy replied that he had no choice because it was the only method he could think of at that time. The boss emphasized that he warned him already that he won't be able to use his power for long before it drains him away. Chen knew that. He's not dumb enough to rely on borrowed power to win the tournament, and he achieved great results. He wasn't expelled, and he can freeload supplements. It was better than where he first started. Then leveling up can come slowly. But his focus for now is the debt due in 5 days. He had to figure out how to make some money. At the school. Chen appeared to be disgusted. He also had no idea what was going on. It looked like an abandoned factory. Then someone approached him. The man waved at him and told him to come there. He noticed that Chen wasn't around during roll call, so he figured that he might have gotten lost. He was in charge of the whole class, and it was difficult to manage everything, so he apologized for the oversight. He introduced himself as Mr. Zhang, the elite class homeroom teacher. Chen expected the teacher of the elite class to be super strict, but he was surprisingly easygoing. He was curious if there were no other teachers in elite classes. He replied yes. They had 3 academic teachers, but he's the only one who handles training. He stated that student numbers were dropping, and students good enough to join the elite class were even fewer, so they haven't hired new instructors. He added that they usually use the innermost area for classes and training, and the outside has been idle for years and just fell apart. Chen realized that the school was in bad shape, so no wonder the principal was anxious. Mr. Zhang assured him of everything by saying that a skinny camel was still bigger than a horse. He had faith that the place wouldn't close down. They entered the training room. Mr. Zhang told him that they were currently having a free training session. He took him to meet the class. Chen now understood why they were called elite class and were leagues above the training yard. It was basically a high-end gym and the students seemed motivated. But he could sense that the atmosphere was a bit tense. Mr. Zhang gathered everyone to introduce their new classmate. He introduced Chen to them. And though he was a bit late, it was fine since the elite class always values strength above all, so he trusts that Chen must have some real skills to get in. He hoped that they all get along and do well in the upcoming exchange competition. One student from the back expressed that he doubted that it was because of skills. He was insinuating that he got through the back door. He added that he could just bring the whole elite class down. Mr. Zhang told this guy named Ma Wenhao to watch his words. He emphasized that Chen entered through proper procedures, so he better stop spreading rumors. Wenhao replied that whether it was a rumor or not, they will find out soon enough. He formally challenged Chen. The crowd was shocked because it has been ages since they had that. Unlike friendly sparring, a formal challenge was fought with full dignity on the line. They say that the loser has to serve the winner without complaint. And Wenhao's the strongest among them. They couldn't believe that he's bullying a newbie. A blonde guy nearby asked a pink-haired girl what the commotion was all about. The pink-haired girl replied that the transfer student was about to fight Ma Wenhao. He didn't know about the transfer student. Mr. Zhang replied that a formal challenge does not count unless the other side accepts. But to his surprise, Cheng accepted. He stated that if it was a friendly challenge and not life-threatening, then he'll accept the challenge. In his head, it was a good chance to test how he compares with the others and a perfect preparation for the exchange competition. The principal had heard about it. It was reported to him via phone call that Chen was going to fight someone. It was Mr. Zhang who reported. He explained that Wenhao issued a formal challenge and Chen accepted it. He was in panic, especially when neither of them would back down and the other students were crowding around cheering. It was getting out of hand. They urged Wenhao to show the newbie who's the boss. The principal thought about it, and since Chen was supposed to be practicing hidden-level training, it was a good chance to test his strength. So, he told Zhang to set up the arena as he approves the challenge. Mr. Zhang officiated the match, and since it was Chen's first time in that kind of match, he went over the rules briefly. The rules for a formal challenge are the same as the exchange competition, which means that the arena is for 2 people only and no help from spectators were allowed. Anyone who interferes will be expelled, and both must be of the same level and no cross-level challenges. Wenhao noted that Chen was Rank 2. Mr. Zhang emphasized that it was just a friendly spar, and there shouldn't be any attacks on vulnerable parts of the body, and no killing moves were allowed, or private revenge afterward. A hit on the face or voluntary surrender equals defeat. And they began. Wenhao charges in. His plan was to strike fast and catch him off guard. He wanted to win in one move. Chen expected him to charge right in. He blocked his arm, which surprised Wenhao. He couldn't believe that he reacted that fast. He kept punching, but Chen skillfully evaded it. He was bothered that Chen evaded like a rat, so he planned on finding a way to restrict his movement. He moved at the speed of light. Chen was caught off guard and had been hit on his forearm. Wenhao's hook and wind kick can shift mid-strike, so even if Chen blocked it, the impact will still knock him down. While Chen was on the ground, he attacked again. Chen glared at him. Then he released his aura and counterattacked with a fast and powerful kick. Wenhao was taken aback that he could use combat techniques too. He willed himself to stay calm, and as long as he didn't get hit in the face, he knew he wouldn't lose. He thought he still had a chance, but Chen's fist gently hit his nose. Chen told him that a hit on the face counts. He was speechless. Mr. Zhang declared Chen the winner. Wenhao couldn't believe that he lost. Even the other students thought the same, but they realized that the new guy was way too strong. In Chen's head, the match ended way quicker, but he got a feel of it. He asked Wenhao if he no longer has complaints. Mr. Zhang was overwhelmed too. Wenhao received professional training, but he didn't expect him to get crushed that badly from Chen, who has no formal training but his physical ability, and on the spot, reflexes were excellent. He realized that he was a great combat-type prospect, so it was no wonder that the principal asked them to keep a close eye on him. Unexpectedly, the principal showed up. He called Chen for a moment since he had something to say to him. The pink-haired girl asked the blonde guy if he saw that. She couldn't believe that the newbie was pretty strong. The blonde guy stated that someone that strong has to become one of their underlings. The principal asked him how he was being in the elite class. He replied that it was pretty good, and his classmates were a bit too enthusiastic. The principal let out a small laugh and replied that powerful oracles always get more attention, so he'll get used to it. He told him that from then on, he should focus on training, and if he needs anything, the school will help however they can. Since Chen could tell that the principal trusts him already, he now thinks it's time to ask about making money. So he asked the principal if students had a way to make money quickly. The principal told him that at his age, he shouldn't worry about that, and he should focus on his training. Instead, then he'll have chances to make big money in the future. And if his family was in trouble, the school would cover some expenses. He replied that he was just casually asking, but deep inside he knew he had to think of something else instead. Back at the training room. He was training lightly while thinking that taking out student loans gets heavily punished there, so he better be careful not to get caught. He kept thinking about how he could make money, when someone approached him. It was the blonde guy. He wrapped his shoulder around Chen and told him that the match was awesome, and he even got to talk to the principal directly. It made him question who he truly was. Chen asked him the same question. Someone called the blonde guy Shen Jirui and told him that he was being rude. It was the pink-haired girl. She apologized for his behavior and clarified that he doesn't mean anything bad. She introduced herself as Sushaoxia, then she introduced Jarui. She told him that they are technically his seniors, so if he has questions, he could ask them. Jarui concluded that they were a 3-person team now, and as the leader, he will take good care of him. Deep inside, Chen was thinking that they're weird. Jarui asked him where he learned the move that he used earlier. Chen had no idea what he's talking about. The blonde boy was surprised that he didn't know what a combat technique was. What's more surprising is that the move that he used was just based on reflexes. He commented that it was brutal and Wenhao would go nuts when he found out. He had been showing off that technique everywhere since he learned it, but turns out he was a poser. Xiaoxia volunteered to explain. She informed him that combat techniques were powerful special moves and prophets can learn them via scrolls or memory stones. Their effects and power varies depending on mastery. There were many kinds of combat techniques. Strong prophets tailor their technique sets to their combat style. The move Wenhao used on him during the match was a D-rank technique called Hook Wind Kick. After learning that, Chen wasn't surprised that he couldn't block it. He thought that if he has combat techniques too, he might have a better shot at the inter-class exchange match. He asked if combat techniques were rare. Jiaru replied it was pretty much like that. It was also ranked, and the stronger it was, the rarer it got. He explained that the school teaches basic ones, but for powerful techniques, they usually need to buy them or have a big shot to share one. The market price for an ordinary D-rank technique was around 500,000. Chen was shocked to hear that because that's several months of loan payment. Jiaru told him that he had some, too. They should spar next time so he could show him. Xiaoxia had one too. To Chen, it sounded like they casually have 500,000 tier stuff. He heard that joining the advanced class was super expensive, so the kids there must have been extremely rich. But a thought dawned on him. If they were from wealthy families, he could ask them about making money. He told them that he wanted to buy a technique but didn't have money, so he asked them if there was a way he could make quick money. Jiaru suggested robbing banks. He replied that, except for that. Talking about fast, high earning, and no rules, only Blackwater Zone Miracle Land comes to Jaru's mind. Xiaoxia bonked him and told him to stop misleading the guy, and if the teachers heard him, he'll be scolded. But Chen was intrigued. Jarui took back what he said because he heard all sorts of stuff happens there, and the school strictly forbids students from going. If he gets caught, he will be automatically expelled. He asked him how short he was for the technique. Chen replied that it's about 300,000. They were surprised to know that it was that much. They checked their bank accounts and they didn't have that much. Chen thought about it, and desperate times called for desperate measures, so he decided to check it out after school, at Blackwater Road. He checked his phone. The navigation says it was right there, but it was an empty street with eerie vibes. Though it wasn't far from his home, he changed out of his school uniform before leaving so no one would recognize him. He asked the boss what he thought of the place. There was no response, so he assumed that the boss wasn't there. He didn't bother much, and since the Outer Zone oracles aren't very high level, he knew he'd be fine alone. He's at Tier 4 power, and even if something happens, he could escape. But he couldn't help but notice how the place looked abandoned ages ago. It made him doubt if there really was a miracle land. Then he noticed some footsteps, which means that someone has been walking around there recently. Then, he saw the secret passage. He walked towards it. Unbeknownst to him, some man saw him head there. And they have murder gazes. His eyes widened when he stepped inside. It was a bright, bustling place. The streets were filthy. There were illegal trades happening. No wonder everyone avoids talking about that place. It was practically lawless. If there's profit, anything goes. But it also made him think that there's a way to make money before the due date. But before that... He looked behind him and asked how long they were going to follow him. Those men came out and commended his sharp instincts. They planned to knock him out and take him away, but since he noticed, they'll just have to rough him up a bit. Chen asked why. They thought he was pretending, but the man stated that he saw plenty of rich kids in disguise going there for the thrill, and if they kidnap him for ransom, they will be rich. That was so lame, and it showed in Chen's expression. The man placed an arm over his shoulder and slapped his cheek. He was happy that Chen froze from terror. He told him to cooperate, pay the ransom, and he'll consider letting him live. Chen told the guy that he was rude. Then in one smack at the back of the head, the man fell face down on the ground. Everyone was surprised that he got knocked out. The other two men took out their knives to teach him a lesson. They charged at him. 2 crate boxes came flying and hit them on the back of their heads. Chen was confused. Then someone appeared in front of him. His hand was grabbed. The woman under the hoodie told him to come with her. Then she dragged him away. They arrived at a certain place where she thought they would be safe. Chen thanked her for saving him, but deep inside, he actually has questions for those two. The woman knew him and asked why he's there. The woman forgot she had to stay undercover. Chen asked her if they knew each other. But to her surprise, he doesn't remember her, so she told him no. She just stated that she saw his name. It was on his collar. He was surprised to learn that it was there, but at the same time, he was also relieved that she didn't know him. She thanked him for telling him. She was thinking how she blew her cover and was glad that she played it off. She reminded him not to expose his info so casually in the Blackwater district because it's dangerous. She offered to guide him out, but he refused because he had urgent business. He knew that if she finds out that he's a student, he's doomed. The woman was certain that he's still Chen, even after all those years. She wondered if he really forgot about her, or if he was faking it. She knew he was a student, so it made her curious about what he's doing there. And the way he moved earlier, it made her wonder if he had become a thief too. Moments later, Chen bought a face mask for $10. He believed that it would keep him safe. He already walked around, and yet he had no clue how to make money. Someone approached him because he doesn't look like a local. He asked him who he was. The man introduced himself as a tour guide and boasted that he knew everything about the place, so he could ask him anything. So Chen asked if there was a palace nearby where he could get quick money. The man ushered him to the location. He was pretty happy too, because he had secured a head fee. They entered a dimmed building, and inside was an arena. The fighter punched the opponent, and the crowd went wild. Chen realized that it was an underground fight arena. The man told him that if he wanted to have fast cash, it was the right place. He also informed him that there's a special match that night, and the winner gets a bonus and part of the betting pool. Lots of Herald-level fighters showed up, and the matches were intense, and the bets were high, so it was the perfect time to join. Chen saw the guy in the ring, and he looked scary, but he's only at level 1. With the high winning prize, he thought about it. The man asked him if he wanted to play. If so, he could get him chips. Chen replied that he wanted the whole prize, so the man was left dumbfounded. The woman followed him inside the arena. The crowd couldn't believe that the kid was strong. She saw the arena, and was puzzled why he's there. His opponent told him not to get cocky just because he won 2 matches. This opponent boasted that he's the tournament's seeded player and his name was Yarif. He kept yapping, so Chen just punched him away, and in just one punch, the guy was knocked down. The crowd expressed that it gets boring since it only took those men a single punch to be defeated. Chen was aiming for that quick and clean victory, though. The next one looked smug, but before he could finish his sentence, he was out. The next one wanted to surrender, but Chen just sent him flying. The man in white suit behind the screen turned pale. They let him enter the match because he looked weak, but he didn't expect that outcome. A subordinate reported to this boss that the fighters they were going to sign all ran away, and the customers thought that they're rigging it and wanted refunds. If that keeps up, the arena will be in jeopardy. So no matter what, they couldn't let the kid walk off with the prize. He told his subordinate to bring out that guy. Chen tightened his fist and delivered the blow to the last challenger. Then he told the referee that he's going to claim the prize. The host insinuated that the crowd wants to see more. So, the management decided to give everyone what they truly wanted: a thrilling final match. Chen realized that they never intended to give him the money fairly. The final fighter was welcomed. Chen was surprised to see him. The man was restrained, and he was introduced as a mutant called Niflin. They brought out the monster that was restrained in a metallic plate, and they removed the restraints that kept it upright. The monster was laying flat on the ground, and they closed the arena again. Chen was confused on what's going on. There was something attached to the nape of the monster, and it released some air, and the capsule at the center of it was removed. The monster stood up. It looked creepy, like a skinny, tall goblin. A woman from the crowd hugged the man beside her because she was scared, while that man was relieved that he chose the back row because any closer and he would have peed on his pants. Though he still comforted the woman and uttered empty promises that he'll protect her. The woman who followed Chen was shocked to see that monster. In her head, she questioned why something like that was in there. She knew it was beyond Che's level, and with her ability, she could get him out safely, but it will expose her location and her plan would be discovered. She was facing a difficult dilemma. Chen was annoyed that the boss wasn't around for times like that. He could tell that the opponent was different from his previous opponents. In the first place, it doesn't look human, and being watched by it feels like a prey under a hunter's gaze, and just standing there was nerve-wracking. His instinct screamed that it was extremely dangerous. The monster's middle finger changed into a blade. It attacked him. It was fast that it had grazed him. Had he not dodged on reflex, he'd already be dead. It made him certain that it really wanted to kill him. So he knew he couldn't hold back. When it charged, he grabbed its arms and kept it away from his body. Still, he was being pushed back. He realized how strong and dangerous it was, so he needed to end the match quickly. He used borrowed power, so from E-2, he reached E-4 level. Because of that, he was able to push the monster backwards. He clasped his hands and raised it in the air, and hit the monster on the head. He checked if he was able to take it down. But to his surprise, the monster rose and attacked him. It scratched his shoulder. He couldn't believe that his strongest attack had no effect on it at all. Its skin is thick, and its claws were sharp so close, combat puts him at a disadvantage. He needed a weapon. The monster charged at him again. He broke the pointy finger to use that as his weapon. He gripped it tightly, and slashed the monster using it. It was a scratch on the side of the neck. He was disappointed that it was too shallow, but he's glad to know that it feels pain. Chen also acknowledged that its strength doesn't match his, even after he increased level. If he could get close to it one more time, he knew he could finish it. Unexpectedly, the monster emitted smoke. He wondered if it was poisonous gas, but then he realized it was just regular mist. But to his surprise, he was scratched on the side of his torso out of the blue. He swung his weapon around, but no one was there. Then he got scratched on his back. But he couldn't see anything. The monster used the mist to wear him down. He knew it was scared that he'd find its weakness, so it's not making any big moves. And even if he survives the attack once, if the leverage time was up, he's still done for. That is why he couldn't let the match drag any longer. Our MC was determined to locate it. He willed himself to stay calm and focus on his senses. His eyes glowed brightly as he focused. He could see a faint green mist. That kept moving. Eventually, he found his target. And when it attacked him, he grabbed it. The monster was surprised. Chen cut off its arm. The monster bled a lot. He found his chance, so he stabbed it. But unexpectedly, his heart pulsed, and it gave him excruciating pain. He wondered if it was because he reached his limit. The monster saw the chance to swat away his weapon. Then it released its long tongue and hit him on the torso. Chen refused to give up, so he used the borrowed power again. He grabbed the tongue that had stuck on his torso and pulled the monster towards him. Then he opened his mouth using both hands. He spread it real wide. He gave all his force. The monster was in pain, until Chen broke the monster in half completely. The boss of the arena asked about the situation, but his subordinate couldn't see anything from the screen. Eventually, the fog cleared. The boss asked if the kid was dead, but when the boss saw the arena, he turned pale. The woman who stalked Chen wondered how it was possible. The crowd went wild as they cheered for the kid. Chen stood there holding the broken monster. Then he threw the corpse on the ground and glared at the guards in the arena. It spooked them. The boss of the arena asked how it was possible. He couldn't believe that the kid actually won, especially when he spent a fortune to buy that monster from the city. The host announced to congratulate the contestant for becoming the champion of the tournament. He was told to follow the staff to claim his prize money. He was ushered backstage and was given the prize money. The briefcase contained a total of 510,000 gold. He was about to grab it, but they closed it shut. The boss of the arena told him to wait. He told Chen that he changed his mind. Then he offered him to become their contracted fighter and compete according to his arrangements, and only then could he keep the 510,000 G, or he could take 110,000 G and leave. Chen glared at him and asked him what he meant by it. The boss complained that all his contracted fighters ran away and he killed his main event fighter. And he paid a fortune for that monster. He claimed that Chen broke the agreement, so he has to compensate him for his losses. Chen told him that he didn't stipulate any conditions for extra matches, and when he went up the stage, the boss of the arena told him something. That there should be no questions about identity, and going on stage means he automatically signs the life and death agreement. Thus, killing the opponent or being killed on stage carries no responsibility. This means that whether or not to kill the opponent is entirely up to the fighter. The boss of the arena was infuriated, so Chen made sure to claim 510,000 G and not a single coin less. The boss of the arena pointed a gun at him while telling him that he can't just walk out of there. Chen grabbed his hand and squeezed it, breaking the gun. He asked him if he really thinks he can stop him. The man yelled loudly because it left his fingers broken. He ordered his men to kill him. Several men in black suits surrounded Chen and pointed their guns at him. Chen sighed. The crowd heard the gunshots. The woman heard that it came from where Chen went. It was followed by a man being thrown out the window. The crowd was shocked. They asked if a movie was being filmed because it was over the top, jumping down from that height. The woman could already tell what's going on. Chen hit the man and made him lose a tooth. He faced them while holding the briefcase. Several gunshots were fired at him. He grabbed the head of the man who fired. Then he pushed him outside. After that, Chen escaped and the men chased after him. They sent people to block the back streets and exits. At this point, Chen's heart was hurting because he used too much borrowed power. Worst of all, the wounds on his body were worsening. To his surprise, someone grabbed him. It was the woman whom he met earlier. She covered his mouth while the men from the arena looked for him. They hid in a dark, narrow alleyway. When the men left, she let him go and told him that it was safe now. Chen remembered her. She told him to save his strength. She shared that she knew a secret passage where he can get out safely. She led him there and instructed him to go straight, and he'll be out safely. She advised him to leave before they surrounded the whole area. He looked back at her, but she urged him to leave quickly. Chen thanked her. Then he started running. She made a call and got scolded that she went to the Blackwater district again. The person on the other line called her Lin N. She told her that she has something for Grandpa. She reported that she found something unusual. A few hours later, Chen arrived at his room. As soon as he's inside, he fell to his knees. He was in excruciating pain. He's already pale and sweating heavily. Then he fainted. His stats showed that he's at rank E level 2, with the ability Borrowed Force 1, and he still has 999 remaining wishes with 0 rewards. He has 510,000 to pay off his debt, which brings down the total debt to 99,808,912. There was a memory of someone in a hospital bed. This mother told his son that the illness might improve in 2 or 3 years, but she lied. Her illness won't get better in 2 or 3 years. And in fact, she only has 2 or 3 years at most left to live. She expressed that she really wants to see him again. to see him get married and have children, to slowly grow old, and to touch his face again. It was a video played on the cell phone. Then the mother apologized that she doesn't have any strength to stay with him any longer. She told him she loved him. The son cried on her side. The mother was already covered in blanket as the phrase, "especially loves you," echoes in the son's head. With that, Chen jerked his eyes open, tears streaming down his face. He was surprised, and when he looked out the window, the sun was already up. He recognized that it was Joe Chen's home, and he was still alive. It was thanks to that dream that he was able to wake up, even though so much time had passed. The boss asked him if he's already awake. He asked the boss where he had been the past few days. The boss replied that he has a lot of things to deal with in other places, too. But when he came back, he found him passed out in there. He told him that he was in bad shape for 2 whole days, and he thought he wouldn't make it. He asked him to explain. The boss knew that he went to a place where people fight each other while he was away, and he used too much borrowed power to defeat a monster, almost getting a backlash from it. The boss scolded him since he already told him not to use his power excessively, and he used it recklessly while he was gone. He could have died. Chen reasoned that it wasn't reckless because it was out of necessity. He told him not to get too worked up. The boss asked him if he thinks that he could bring him back if he dies. It was impossible, because reviving him had already used up most of his power, and if he dies again, he won't be able to save him. He nagged at him that since he already experienced life and death, he should value the chance more. Chen was surprised that he'd say something like that, but he agreed with him that he should treasure the hard-won chance. The boss was glad that he understood. Then he mentioned that the half-human creatures that Chen mentioned doesn't sound like something from their world. Chen didn't bother about it because he's never going back to that hellish place again. He thought about the girl he met there but decided to forget about it because there was no one thinking about it. He decided to just focus on leveling up, and then he remembered the money. He opened the briefcase and was relieved to find the money still there. The boss asked him if that was the reason why he went to the arena. He explained that with that 510,000, he doesn't have to worry about paying his debt until the exchange meeting was over. That way, he can focus entirely on leveling up. And then, before he heads to school, he has to treat the wound on his abdomen. The small injuries healed on its own, but the one in the abdomen didn't. He needs to go to the hospital, then there's school training, and before all that, he had to go to the bank to deposit the money. He complained how busy he was, in the hospital. The doctor told him that it was nothing serious. Although it's a penetrating wound, it was healing well. He was told to keep it clean and not get hurt again. The doctor told him that healing that fast wasn't something normal people could do. So, the doctor asked if he was a prophet, and he replied yes. Then the doctor informed him that prophets get injured often and their hospital has a promotion. If he gets a card, he could enjoy discounts later. Chen refused it and expressed that he wanted the regular medicine. The doctor gave him a special anti-inflammatory. Chen was relieved that the monster's tongue wasn't poisonous. He felt relaxed, but his eyes itched. The doctor gave him the medicine and told him to just pay it outside. He saw that there's light in the bottle, so he asked about it, but the doctor told him that he doesn't see any lights and it was just a regular anti-inflammatory for prophets. He got confused because he could clearly see it, and it didn't seem like an illusion. He wondered if he's the only one who can see it. The doctor thinks he might be hallucinating from stress. He explained that it's normal for prophets to be stressed, then he tried to sell him a counseling program. After that, he exited the room. He could see medicines and people glowing. He wondered if it's because he's a prophet. The difference between ordinary people and prophets is whether they have been enhanced by star energy. He wondered if it was the light given off by the star energy. He wondered if it was because of the fight. If that was the case, it would be a huge deal since the key to a prophet's level up is how much star energy they can absorb. And if he can really sense star energy, it would be much easier to absorb it. Someone caught his attention. The man passes by. This person's star energy was extraordinary. The man glanced back because he felt that he was observed, but he knew there weren't any strong people there. This man answered a call, and the person on the other line asked him why he's in the hospital. He was reminded of their mission, which is to find the alien star. The long green-haired man replied that he rarely travels, so he would stay in that country for a while and catch up with their little princess. The person on the line liked that, because according to their boss's prophecy, the alien star is a key point in changing history. Before they knew whether it was an enemy or ally, he was told to contact them first and act accordingly. The man commented that his boss worries too much. He stated that if the alien star was really an enemy, he'd personally destroy it. This person was Amir, an A-rank thief, at the academy. The principal talked to Chen because just a few days after entering the special class, he didn't answer calls, didn't reply to any messages, and skipped classes. In Chen's head, he just got back, and yet he's already caught. The principal was well informed. He apologized and explained that something urgent came up at home, so he wasn't able to inform the school in time. He expressed that he was willing to accept any punishment. The principal clarified that it wasn't what he meant. He just wanted to ask if nothing bad happened to him. Chen replied that there was nothing like that. He asked if he's worried that he'd back out of the exchange match. The principal firmly replied no because he trusted him regarding that. He's more concerned that Chen was hiding some kind of hardship that he doesn't dare to speak of. He told him that since he's a good prophet, even if he hadn't agreed to the match, the school would still do its best to support him. He told him that the purpose of the academy is to nurture excellent prophets, and that will never change. Chen nodded and assured him that he's fine. He promised to give his all in the exchange match and win honor for the school. Since that was all, the principal told him to return to class. He also informed him that his friend was so worried about him that they even came to his office. Chen was confused, though. At class, Jaru placed his arm around Chen's shoulder and asked him where he went. Xiaoxia added that even the teachers don't know what happened. They were all worried about him. He replied that things were busy at home. Jaru brought up the topic about combat techniques he mentioned before. He gave him a card while telling him that he and Xiaoxia scraped together 300,000 for him to use first, then he can just pay them back once he has the money later. Chen was surprised. He just casually mentioned it, but he didn't expect them to take it seriously. He told them that he found the technique wasn't worth it, so he decided not to buy it. He thanked them anyway. Jaru told him that he'd find something better. Unexpectedly, someone called out to Chen. Wenhao was blushing when he approached him. He admitted that he overheard them say that he was short on money, so he gave him his card, which has 50,000 savings. He hoped that he didn't mind that it wasn't much. Then, about him losing the match, he told Chen that if there's something he wants him to do, he could just say it. Chen told him that there's no need to act like a servant or anything. Xiaoxia scolded him for butting in their team's business. She asked if he's scheming something. He replied that there's nothing like that. He just wanted to apologize to Chen before since he thought he got into the special class through connections, and afterward Mr. Zhang explained his situation. With that, he admits his loss wholeheartedly. He stated that Chen made him realize the gap between them, so he wanted to be friends. Xiaoxia whispered in Chen's ear that he was the first to defeat Wenhao. She asked if they should let him join. He replied that he doesn't mind. Xiaoxia told Wenhao that if he's willing to be the fourth member, then they will accept him. He replied that ranking doesn't matter to him. Jaru stated that to celebrate their new teammate, Wenhao should pour him a glass of water. Wenhao replied that if there's anyone who gets water, it should be Chen, since Jaru lost to him anyways. Jaru couldn't believe that he just joined and yet he's already acting like a boss. Chen watched them while thinking that they're all such good teammates. He felt lucky to still be alive otherwise. He would have never met them. At the treadmill machine, Chen trained hard. In his head, the leveling system was simple. The body just needs to absorb the star energy, and the more star energy absorbed, the higher the level. High-intensity exercise increases absorption efficiency, and that's why most prophets were always doing PE classes. But the absorption rate was trickier than he expected. He already wore equipment to maximize training intensity, but his absorption rate was still low. If the star energy in the body wasn't absorbed in time, it will slowly leak out and be wasted. It is no wonder some people stay level 1 their whole lives. At that rate, he'll never reach level 4 before the competition. He knew he needed a way to boost his absorption rate. Jaru approached him and expressed that free training was getting boring. He invited Chen to spar to make things exciting. Chen had an AHA moment. He recalled that during the match, it was only because he had to fight that monster that he accidentally forced himself to grasp star energy observation. He told Jaru that if they're going to spar, he has an idea that will need everyone's help. The center light was turned on. Xiaoxia used Izumo Palm, while Jaru used Rending Fist. They fought Chen together. Chen liked how they sync. After that, it left those two exhausted. They have been at it for almost an hour, so they suggested that they rest. Xiaoxia expressed that when he first said 1 versus 2, she thought that he was joking. She didn't expect that he meant it. Jaru claimed that the method was amazing. Without worrying about winning or losing, he could throw himself completely in battle, and he even dared to try new moves. Next round was Wenhao's turn. Chen realized that he was right. That kind of all-out battle increases absorption rate, and with their good foundations, once the absorption rate increases, they would level up quickly. He thought of trying a new method while his rate was already high. To ensure safety for ordinary people, the star energy in normal supplements was diluted. If the physical quality was average and absorption was low, even drinking thousands of bottles won't raise a level. But from his observation, borrowed star energy was 100 times more concentrated than supplements. With his current ability, absorbing it directly would definitely make his body explode. But if control the flow that he could absorb, he thought that he could make the borrowed star energy permanent. To level up quickly, he thinks it was worth a try. He used borrowing power. He didn't realize until then how absurd the amount he could borrow. But it made sense since it leveled him up twice in a row. He slowly controlled the flow and compressed it as small as possible. Then he absorbed it. The energy was all gathered in his heart. He didn't expect even a small amount to be so overwhelming. His whole body was filled up instantly. Even restraining it desperately, he still had absorbed too much. At that rate, his body will burst, so he had to release it. When he did, everyone was shocked. At first, they thought it was an earthquake, but soon after, they realized it was him. Their jaws dropped when they saw that his star energy suddenly skyrocketed. The boss appeared and asked him what was happening. He couldn't believe that he absorbed his energy. Chen expressed that he tried to control the amount he gave him down to what he could handle, and luckily, it worked. The boss was in disbelief that he absorbed the star energy and didn't die. It made him think that he truly is his destiny point. A brief description about star energy supplements. It is made from materials containing star energy such as star grass, star crystals, etc., with various magical effects such as replenishing star energy, enhancing physical strength, and healing injuries. Chen asked him if he said something. The boss said nothing and expressed that he's glad that he's not dead. Mr. Zhang arrived in panic and asked what happened and if they were okay. Xiaoxia reported that it was Chen. Jiaru explained that they finished sparring and were resting when Chen suddenly became like that. Mr. Zhang couldn't believe that strong star energy was overflowing. He instructed Wenhao to bring the measuring device. It showed that he's at level 3. Everyone's jaw dropped. It was the first level 3 in their school in ages. He hurriedly left to inform the principal at once. Xiaoxia inquired how he leveled up. She wanted him to teach her. He replied that he was just training like they did just then, and she'll eventually level up soon. He didn't expect that it would cause commotion. Because of that, he took a mental note to try it at home instead. Jiaru believed him since he felt so pumped up after sparring. Xiaoxia confirmed if they spar more, they would level up like him. Wenhao told them to stop resting so they could train since it was his turn now. While they were sparring, Chen noticed that the boss didn't curse at him this time. The boss replied that he got used to him, and if it was just to level up quickly, he won't say anything anymore. After all, he needed him to get stronger too. Chen told him there's nothing to worry, since he still has a lot of stored star energy that he hasn't used. Once his body absorbs it slowly, he can level up again to level 4. The boss just watched him in silence. Time flew by and it turned July 12th, 2026. There were only 55 days left until the exchange tournament. Chen trained hard. Another day passed by and he trained with the others. Days flew by with him just focusing on leveling up, until eventually, September 6th, 2026 came. It was the day of the exchange match, at the exchange tournament venue. There were so many people. Xiaoxia couldn't believe that she's actually standing on that stage. She shared that if her mom knew, she would cry from excitement. Jiaru heard that more students were participating that year than ever. Wenhao asked Chen if he's ready for the level 4 matches. The gap between level 3 and level 4 wasn't that small. He felt bad, since if they had more time together, they might have been able to fight together. Chen reassured him and reminded him that participation was enough, and losing or winning doesn't matter. And if it was dangerous, he'll just forfeit. Since the rest areas for level 3 and level 4 were in separate areas, they had to split up. Jiaru told him that if they finish early, they will come cheer for him. Xiaoxia wished him luck. He waved goodbye. The time for him has come. He decided to go get ready. At the VIP stands, the principal expressed that it was his first time in the VIP area. Mr. Zhang replied that it made sense, since their school only ever joined level 2 tournaments before, so they never got that treatment. A person arrived and happily greeted him. It was old Wang. They shook hands. Wang Mingyuan, the principal of Yunxiang, congratulated Hu Wei, the principal of Leitian. Mingyuan expressed that he didn't expect Wei to bring level 3 and level 4 students in such a short time. He replied that it's all thanks to his students' hard work. He just did his best to meet their needs. He also thanked him for notifying him about the changes. Mingyuan expressed that the new rules that the central authority had planned are planning to increase subsidies for winning schools, and to get those subsidies, competition would definitely be fierce. Someone arrived. He commented that it was no wonder it was noisy because the country bumpkins were there for the first time. Wei got offended, but Mingyuan told him to calm down. He informed him that the men were the principals that have won in the past tournaments, so it's better not to clash with them. Wei replied that it was in the past, and the tournament hasn't started yet, and no one knows who will win this time. The principal of Shuogang Academy, which was the champion last year, was Li Tuo. He replied that, as expected, the more useless the dog, the louder it barks. He told them to enjoy their time, and if they don't remember the scene well, it would be too bad because they won't get another chance. We scoffed in response. Mr. Zhang whispered to him that it was their first time at such a high-level tournament, and he's worried if the kids would be okay. Wei asked him what he thought of the students. Mr. Zhang replied that they were amazing, especially Chen. Since his talents weren't worse than those drugged-up prodigies from elite schools. Wei agreed, and replied that the only thing they needed to do was to believe in them. A black-haired woman with eyeglasses was on the stands holding a card saying, Lei Tenwo. It was her first time in a place like that, so she was nervous. It made her wonder if Chen was okay. When she first heard Chen was competing, she couldn't believe it. A week ago. Ever since Chen transferred to the special class, she hasn't seen him for a long time. She doesn't know how he's been. But now, he's the school's superstar. He even represents the school in a level 4 tournament. She expected that he wouldn't even bother talking to someone like her from an ordinary class. She tripped. Fortunately, someone caught her. Chen asked her if she was okay. She was surprised to see him. She thanked him for helping her and asked why he's there. He replied that he saw her pass, so he just came to say hi. She expressed that she thought after he joined the special class, he didn't want to be friends with her anymore. That was nonsense, since to him, friends are friends that don't change because of status. It made her smile. She was glad because, just as she expected, he's still the same. She had faith that he'll do well in the match. At the present moment, the contestants were called on stage. Chen wore black shirt, pants, wristbands, and shoes. He looked cold and sophisticated. The class rep looked forward to seeing him. Chen's current stats is at E-Class Level 4, with borrowed Power 1 ability. He has 999 wishes and 0 rewards. Currently, he has no debt due, but the total of his remaining debt was at 99,808,912. The host greeted the honored guests, beloved teachers, and dear students. There were 2 hosts. The male host welcomed everyone to the Outer District Regional Exchange Tournament. The competition was going to be hosted by him and his partner, Lillian. The crowd went wild because Lillian was a popular idol. They didn't expect her to host the tournament. Also, she's still cute even without her idol outfit. She announced to everyone that she showed up not as an idol, but as a hardworking Lillian, and the true stars were the contestants. Then they explained the rules of the competition. There were 12 academies participating, and each sent 4 representatives. There were 16 level 4 contestants and 32 level 3 contestants. However, the arena is only for the level 4 contestants. So if there's anyone who wants to watch level 3 matches, they should go to the other hall. The scores of both level 3 and level 4 would be converted into points, and the final ranking would be based on points. The promotion rules were simple. Each match was one-on-one, the winner advanced to the next round. Winners would face other winners until a champion was decided. And to ensure everyone goes all out, the unlimited match time rule has been changed. Now, each match is limited to half an hour, ending when one side loses the ability to fight or admits defeat. They hoped all contestants would show their true strength. Although that year's rules were more intense than before, they had nothing to worry about. Lillian revealed a special person. It was Bai Yue, an S-Rank oracle. Most of the audience only saw him on TV, so they couldn't believe they're seeing him in person. Yue lifted one finger, and the ground shook. It demonstrated how impressive he was. The ground was elevated. It was the special arena that he prepared. It also has barriers set by him, so the spectators don't need to worry about being harmed by shockwaves. And after each match, the master would repair the stage. Contestants could go all out and fight without holding back. Lastly, the gemstones they held must be worn during the matches. It wasn't just proof of participation, but it also protects them at a critical moment. The contestants were amazed and overwhelmed that with just a flick of his wrist, he had reshaped the battlefield already. They had understood how overwhelming it was after seeing it in person. Chen internally agreed to that. He heard that S-Rank power was like that of a god. He didn't expect it to be that exaggerated. But he saw the boss without care at all, so it killed the tension for him. The match results would be notified through each contestant's gemstone, and without further ado, the match began. The first round, match 1, was scored 16-8. It was between the West Coast Oracle, Wang Lu, and the Blue Extreme Oracle, Xiao Ran. The opening fight was already fierce. Ran ends the battle with a dazzling cannon-like attack. It ended after 17 minutes. Then they moved on to the second match. Wei and Ming Yuan watched through a glass window. Wei couldn't believe that the S-Rank master was invited to assist. It just showed how much more intense that year's competition would be intense than ever. Ming Yuan replied that the gap between level 4 and level 3 was huge, and level 4s can fully unleash their battle techniques. Plus, the academies were rich, so they could easily afford C-rank techniques. With subsidies, those academies shamelessly equipped their contestants with best techniques and potions, which is how they had stayed on the top for so long. It was also the reason why they were confident. Some men tried to win Principal Tuo's favor while he's drinking his coffee and watching the match. Ming Yuan claimed that this time, it would be different. The host announced the fight match, which was between Yunhu Oracle Lan Qin and West Coast Oracle Liza. It was another exciting duel that they anticipated. Qin dodges with ghostly footwork, avoiding the fierce attacks as if toying with her opponent. But dodging alone won't hurt the opponent, so they were curious how she would claim her victory. She announced that the warm-up was over. She restricted her opponent's limbs. They were surprised to learn that she mastered an ability-type technique. Her opponent panicked when he couldn't break free. They determined that from his reaction, the ability was dangerous. Using a technique to bind the opponent and then finish him off was her flawless strategy. The match ended in just 5 minutes. It thrilled the crowd to see magic. They knew that controlling the enemy and beating him up at will was unbeatable. She stood a chance at the championship. Hu Wei was also surprised. Ability type was a rare power usually by awakened D-rank oracles or higher. Ming Yun knew exactly that. He revealed that Qin was one of the rare few who awakened early. Her talent was 1 in a million. Wu Yu, the Chongshan principal and last year's runner-up, commented that it wasn't such a big deal. Ming Yun asked him why he tried to poach her when he looked down on her so much. He learned it from Qin. She even said that he's greasy. It embarrassed Yu. Tuo told Yu to stop and assured him that it was just an early awakening. Then the host announced the match between Lian Guang's oracle, Wang Zhuo. Before the host could end his statement, the match had already been over. It only took 5 seconds. It was a one-hit kill. As the opponent was about to attack, Zhuo had ended him. It demonstrated the power of Lian Guang Oracle Academy, the reigning 3-time champion. The crowd went wild. It was indeed insane. They already anticipated that the championship would be claimed by them again. Zhuo was certain of the outcome of the matches for that year. Because of that, he's already bored. Yu got excited when he saw it. Zhuo really was something else. No doubt, he was trained personally by Principal Li. Tuo commented that the more arrogant the dog, the louder it barks. Ming Yun responded that he should just wait, and they'd show him. Meanwhile, Wei was silent because he knew that the battle was completely out of their league. He acknowledged that with their academy's oracle level, just qualifying was already a win. If Chen could even win one match or at least put on a good show, then it would be a huge gain. In the 7th match, the Shyman Oracle's contestant came out victorious after 20 minutes. After that, they had a short break before the last match of the 3rd round began. Cho didn't expect to be in the final match. It made him intrigued on what kind of opponent he'd face. The boss didn't care about those details. It suggested that he borrows the power and finishes it quickly. Chen explained that students at that stage usually only reach level 4, so borrowing up to level 5 would be too eye-catching. If he's investigated, it would be a problem. Someone was in the hallway and told him that he had bad luck for reaching the final match. It was Chen. She told him that Chen was up against Chongshan Oracle's Lei Che. He's one of the top contenders for the championship of that year. His signature technique, Thunderburst Kick, was so strong, even D-rank fighters can't withstand it. Chen replied that using such a powerful technique in such a lower-level tournament seemed dangerous. She explained that the gemstone he received before the match could block one fatal blow, but his body won't come out unscathed. It showed how cruel the funding battles between academies are. He thanked her for the warning and inquired why she's helping him. She replied that their principals were friends, so she became sort of his ally. The goal was the same, to take the first place from those arrogant elites. She hoped that he would at least play the role of ally and help her out one bit, but since his opponent is Lei Che, she could just wish that he'd wear down his stamina. She wished him good luck and elfed. It made him wary if Che was really that dangerous. The last match of the final round began. Everyone had been getting impatient. Chen stepped out. The crowd went wild. They didn't expect him to be in the last match, so the crowd was thrilled. Chen was caught off guard with the warm welcome that he received. Then Lei Che was introduced. Chen realized that people weren't talking about him. Che came out in a flashy way. A superhero entrance for someone who doesn't have plot armor, huh? And the crowd went wild. He was so confident. Chen had a serious expression on his face when he turned towards him. It was unexpected that the final spotlight battle would go to Chongshan Oracle's contestant, Lei Che. He became an Oracle at age 12, and in just 4 years, he reached level 4. Not to mention he once earned a national certification and a guild invitation. Calling him a new era genius wouldn't be an exaggeration. The crowd cheered for him. His female fans went wild too. Tiantian noticed his fans club while no one's cheering for Chen. The woman behind her replied that it was natural. She stated that Che was handsome and strong, so having no fans would be abnormal. On the other hand, the other guy looked ill-tempered and pretentious, so no one would cheer for him. Tiantian got angry and corrected the woman that Chen had a fan, that she was a fan of his. She claimed that he was gentle and strong, unlike that flashy Che who had a bad personality, just like his face. The woman got offended. Tiantian reasoned that she started when she judged Chen by his looks. Those two clashed, and they competed cheering for their candidates. Tiantian's classmates were surprised by her actions. It was their first time seeing her so fired up, so they got intrigued on what's going on. The host acknowledged the unending cheers. It just implied that everyone was excited to see what kind of performance the genius youth would show. They were curious if he could shake up Lianguang Oracle, the academy that dominated first place for years. Then the host announced the start of the match. Lillian stopped him because he forgot to introduce the other contestant. He realized his mistake and admitted that he got caught up with the crowd's excitement and forgot. He was slightly embarrassed. He apologized and proceeded with a proper introduction. He announced the opponent of Lei Che, Zhou Chen of Leitan Oracle. The host had nothing to say about past achievements since there was none, also no signature techniques. Given their record, he could tell that it was his first time competing. Chen wished they had at least bought a technique beforehand. The crowd started talking. It made sense why they don't recognize him. It was because it's their debut. They assumed that a school like that probably spent all their resources just raising one level 4. Now, it was no wonder why he doesn't have a battle technique. They already think it was such a waste of such a prime spotlight match. They had lost hope to see Che's ultimate move. Meanwhile, the woman behind Tiantian laughed at her after learning that their school was competing for the first time. Wu Yu didn't expect that Wei's debut would be against them. He felt bad for him. Wei's head started to ache. Mingyun told him to ignore the guy. He told him that every school has its first time. Che spoke to Chen saying that he had bad luck for facing him in their debut. He added that Chen should understand that being a genius means carrying a lot of expectations, and even if he wanted to sympathize with him, he couldn't give up on victory. Chen replied, "There's no need for that, and they could just fight normally." Che moved at lightning speed. He approached Chen to tell him that he would start with just 10% of his power as a warm-up. In that way, Chen's first fight would look like a decent back and forth, even if he lost. He advised him to make good use of the chance. Chen didn't care much, since he already told him to fight normally. The host announced that Che instantly closed in on Chen, then retreated just as fast. The host was fired up. He declared the match to begin. As soon as he did, Che attacked at lightning speed. This guy appeared in front of our MC faster than the blink of an eye. But Chen saw the incoming punch, and the following attacks. He didn't take a step away from his spot. Our boy's opponent was definitely toying with him. It surprised the hosts. They wondered if it was some kind of special technique. They could see Che split into 2, or even more, and it looked like Chen was taking the attack all at once. The after images could have been caused by the sheer speed. Right from the start, Che showed such terrifying skill, which made the championship battle thrilling to watch. Chin watched and commented that Che was going to be troublesome. Zhuo was just silent. Yu had this smug expression because he knew that Che's strength was far greater than that. Finding such a prodigy cost him a lot. He already expected the opponent to be no match. Che asked Chen why he wasn't moving. He mocked him for not being able to keep up with 10% of his speed. He added that it made sense because only Zhuo was worthy to be his opponent. He concluded that Chen had reached the end. In his last attack, it was time to say goodbye. Chen asked him if he wouldn't dodge anymore. Che was caught off guard and got punched in the face. Chen didn't even take a step from his position. The host's jaws dropped because of the shock. Chen and Zhuo were surprised too. Even Tiantian and the woman behind her, Che even lost a tooth from the punch. They couldn't believe that in an instant, Chen threw a punch and easily nullified Che's attack. With Che's speed, dodging should have been easy. They wondered if it was carelessness, or he simply failed to evade. The crowd got mad at Chen for hitting Che on the face. They claimed that he cheated. But to Chen, Che wasn't attacking, so he decided to attack first. It made him wonder if there's a hidden match rule there. Mingyun, excitedly, claimed that it was a solid move. He commented that Wei's student was hiding some serious skill. Yu yelled that it was impossible because at level 4, no one was faster than Che, and a small school like that would never train someone like that. He accused him of hiring a ringer. Wei replied that if it were a rigger, the higher-ups in charge of screening would have caught it. He suggested that Yu was implying that he was smarter than them. Tuo pointed out that the shouting was setting a bad example. Suddenly, the host announced that the match wasn't over yet. The host was about to announce the winner when someone stopped him. It was Che. He was back on his feet, so the match continued. He realized he underestimated him, so from then on, he decided not to hold back anymore. He could no longer suppress his thunder power any longer. He let out a thunderous light throughout the arena. It was such intense star energy. Chen was shocked at how fast he became, his brows furrowed. They noticed how Che used the arena's barrier to keep increasing his speed. They expected him to use a certain move. Che's signature battle technique. He became confident in his technique. He unleashed the thunderous explosive charge kick, but before he could land it, he was punched in the face and was thrown to the opposite side of the arena. Chen advised him that he should have attacked earlier before he had gotten to his speed. So once again, Che was sent flying. His star turned red, which means he's completely lost the ability to fight. The host declared Chen as the winner. Deep inside, he almost couldn't hold back his strength, but with the Starstone protection, he thinks Che would be fine. The crowd talked to each other on how he did that. It was so fast that they couldn't even see clearly. In the quarterfinals, the first match was between Li Yue and Zhao Qing, in which Yue of Radiant Light Division emerged victorious. The second match was Lan Qin versus Sun Ming. The third match was between Wang Zhou and Xiao Hao, and the last match was Xiaoran versus Zhou Chen. In the quarterfinals match 2, Lan Qin easily won, the same for Zhou in match 3. It was another one-strike victory. The opponent was from the same academy, so he held back. The crowd moved on from him and got excited for Chen's match. Zhou heard them and glared at them with killing intent. They got spooked. In quarterfinal match 4, it was Zhou Chen versus Xiao Ran. Xiao Ran's explosive fist lives up to its name. The angles were vicious and hard to block. But Chen was dodging as if he predicted his opponent's moves. The speed was so fast that no one could even follow. In one strike, he won. Some men in black suits watch him through the screen. They noticed how he hasn't even used a battle technique. He's only using star energy to strengthen his body and strike his opponents. His start energy control was good, that there's no need for real techniques. They speculated him to be above level 4, and he just had to lower his rank to compete. Or that maybe he used some kind of illegal drug to boost his power. Either way, it breaks the rules of the tournament, so they had someone to check it out. The host announced that the next fight is the first semi-final between Leitan Division's Zhou Chen versus Shining Light Division Lie Yue. But he noticed some men approached Chen. The crowd had asked what was going on. Chen was asked to put on a device and then release a burst of star energy pressure once he got it on. The crowd speculated that those men were from Mid-City District Special Inspectors. They knew that inspectors were specifically there to verify the levels. Because of that, they started to think that Chen must not have been a level 4. They started to speculate that he must have been a substitute fighter. Chen started to wonder if he overdo it after all. He took a mental note not to stand out too much in the future. The men checked their screen. Verification was complete, and there was no discrepancy in level, and no sign of drugs in the contestant's body. The host announced that the inspector had just confirmed that Chen was really an E-rank level 4. After that, the tournament continued. The announcement was followed by a deafening silence. The crowd were surprised that he was just really level 4 after demonstrating his skills. The semi-final match between Yue and Chen started. Yue was scared of how strong he was. And in one strike, Chen had won again. It was unbelievable. He secured victory again and advanced to the finals. Mingyun told Wei that his student was really special. Wei pretended that he knew that before. Some men approached Principal Hu as they didn't expect that the Leitan would produce such promising students for that year. The man flattered him by saying that he always heard that the principal was extremely dedicated to his work. Now, seeing how excellent his student was, his reputation was well-deserved. The man added that they should all learn from him. Yu and Tuo scowled at them. Wei didn't expect that Chen would make it to the finals on his very first tournament. He could confidently say that he didn't let him down. The semi-final match 2 between Zhuo and Qin started. Qin bore in her mind that she absolutely cannot lose the Academy's honor. She noticed him. Zhuo was exuding with killing intent. And the host announced that they should begin. 2 girls cheered for their seniors. Zhuo noticed them. Qin thought it was her chance since he got distracted. She attacked him and hit his chest with the combat skill called Flowing Cloud Hand. But Zhuo didn't budge. Instead, he glared at her. She got terrified when she realized her attack was completely useless. He saw that she had magic ability. He grabbed her arm, then she tried to elbow him. Then he told her that the magic ability was ridiculous. It angered her. She wrapped him using her ability. And then she puts distance between them. She thought it was a good hit. But to her surprise, he appeared behind her and told her that it was such a petty trick. She didn't know when he had done that. Then he punched her using his battle skill, boiling blood. She was blasted away. Both sides were strong. The semifinals were really on another level. The arena has been shattered, and yet Zhuo wasn't hurt at all. The girls in the audience felt worried for their seniors because it made them on the verge of tears. Mingyun was worried for Qin too. She was bruised all over. Her talisman fell. She forced herself to continue fighting. Back then, on a rainy day in school. She saw some girls gathered in an area when training time had already started. One of her juniors cried because when the academy subsidy was gone, she would have to go back to work. She wanted to keep studying to become a recruiter. She promised them that they would win the championship, then the Ministry of Education won't cancel their subsidy, and everyone can keep studying. The girl became hopeful. Then she remembered something. She gave her a charm to express their support for her. She was touched. In the present moment, she wanted to uphold the deal. She desperately tried to reach her charm, but Zhuo just stepped on it while saying that she'd been fighting desperately just for that. He kicked her while telling her that she's boring. With her state, her supporters can no longer cheer her on. The system detected that her start stone had turned red, meaning she lost the ability to fight. Zhuo was declared the victor, but even after that, he wanted to kick her with condensed energy on his foot. The host yelled at him to stop since the match was already over. He quickly yelled for someone to restrain him. The crowd was terrified of what he's trying to do. Mingyun yelled at him to stop at once. Someone yelled at Yue to intervene, otherwise someone would die, but he replied that there was no need. He watched the arena, and the ground shattered. Chen had saved Qin. He asked if it was their academy's fighting style to bully someone who can't fight back. Zhuo turned to see who it was. He found Chen. The host was relieved that Chen saved Qin at the critical moment. Mingyun rushed down to Qin, feeling relieved. The crowd yelled that Zhuo was too much. They cheered for Chen to teach him a lesson in the finals. Zhuo claimed that whoever that was doesn't matter because one more or one less doesn't make any difference. At this point, Chen was already angry. Since both contestants agreed to go directly to the finals, the host requested the staff to repair the arena to be able to proceed smoothly. Xiaoxia, Jiaru, and Wenhao arrived and sat beside Tiantian. Jiaru asked Tiantian what the situation was. She told him that he made it to the finals, but she's worried since his opponent wasn't easy to deal with. Mingyun was frustrated that Tuo allowed some lunatics like that to complete. He advised Wei to keep his eye on this one. They told Chen to be careful. Chen replied that they shouldn't worry. Zhuo asked Chen if he really thinks he had a chance given his background and resources. He claimed that from the start, the battle was already decided. Chen cuts him off by saying that he talked so much crap, so he asked if they're still going to fight or not. Zhuo glared at him, and once everything was ready, the host announced the match to begin. Immediately, Zhuo went to punch him. Chen just stood there. Zhuo expressed that he thought he would be more impressive. Chen replied that it should be his line. Zhuo was caught off guard. He taunted him by asking if that was all the reigning champion had. Then he counterattacked. Zhuo fought back using his boiling blood battle technique, and their fists met each other at an insane speed. The host announced that he had worked in the field for over 10 years, and he had never seen such a spectacle in a level 4 match. It was hard to imagine that it was Lei Tian's first competition. Chen was so strong. Even Wenhao and Jiaru couldn't believe it. Chen had sparred with them before, but they realized that he must have been holding back all along. They were only one level apart from him, but the gap in power was huge. Chen kept punching. His fist landed on Zhuo's jaw. Wei was shocked. Mr. Zhang knew Chen had a solid foundation, but he didn't expect that he could really fight someone with top-tier resources to that extent. Zhuo couldn't believe that he was injured. It took him a while to register that he actually got hurt by that kind of guy. It angered him, which led him to use boiling blood max level. The boss noticed that he forced the star energy in his body to erupt and boost strength. It got interested in the power known as the battle techniques. He moved incredibly fast. Chen noticed the increase in his speed, but it was useless against his perception. Perception is a focused mind that greatly enhances sensory ability. The staff beside Yue was surprised that Zhuo's star energy intensity had rapidly increased. They suggested a level check on Zhuo. Yue replied that Zhuo had used that battle technique in the past too. Using that technique temporarily strengthens body parts to gain power beyond one's level, and that time he just applied it to his whole body, so it doesn't count as a violation. The staff realized that he was too hasty. Yue noticed that the other contestant seems to have not used his full strength since the beginning. It made him curious on what his limit was. It was so fast that the audience couldn't even see. Jiaru thinks that Chen was at a disadvantage. When Rao replied that it wasn't the case, he noticed that Chen was guiding Zhuo's punches. Chen evaded the punch. Then he took a deep breath while keeping his eyes on him. Then he countered with a punch, but Zhuo blocked it using his arms, but the strength had pushed him back. He did his best to maintain his footing. He admitted that Chen was the first at the same level who could push him like that, but he claimed that he would still be the strongest. Chen taunted him by asking if that was all he got. Chen activated Borrowed Force. He had 0 out of 6 remaining uses. Shit's about to go down. Zhuo and Chen prepared their fists. It was a battle between Boiling Blood, Max, and Borrowed Power. They blocked each other's arms. Then Chen used Perception. It made him clearly see the punches, and Zhuo's weak point was the heart. He elbowed him on the chest. It made Zhuo cough. Then Chen followed up with another attack. Zhuo couldn't believe that Chen's strength and speed was increasing. He refused to go down. He exudes his star energy as he yells that he's the strongest. But Chen was ready to end the fight. Zhuo punched him while screaming at him to die. Their fists clashed at the center, resulting to a powerful explosion. Because of the smoke and bright light, no one could see inside the arena. Wei wondered how it went. The smoke slowly subsided. Eventually they saw Zhuo still standing, but this fucker then fell to his knees and had lost the ability to fight, and the one standing until the end was Chen. The host congratulated Chen for winning the Level 4 group championship. Ladian's points have also achieved a historic comeback. They had secured the championship with 200 points. It was the first time since the start of the Outer Exchange Tournament that a regional academy had taken the overall championship. Following Leitian was Liang Guangyu with 160 points, Yun Huyu with 135 points, and on the fourth was Chong Guangyu with 110 points. Everyone from Leitian celebrated. They had faith that Chen would pull it off. Mr. Zhang screamed that Chen really made them proud. Even Wei praised him for a job well done. Now, they don't have to beg for subsidies. Mr. Zhang couldn't believe him for highlighting that. The other men noticed Wei was still there, so they hurriedly went down to congratulate him, while Tup was holding back his anger. Yu couldn't decide where to go. Eventually he went with them. Since the match was over, Yue decided to head back. He left the rest of the work to the stuff. His interest was caught by Chen. Then he noticed a middle-aged man and a high school girl on the side. He recognized him and thought that he came there for Chen too. The girl was Lin En. The man beside him didn't expect that the outer district would be able to produce such talent. It was no wonder that En came to watch. He asked her if she had heard of him before. He wondered if she could bring him to the guild. She replied that they were neighbors when they were kids, but after she moved, they never met again. She bumped into him by chance in the Blackwater district last time, and he didn't recognize her, but she could try his best to pull him into the guild. The Lentian Academy had received the trophy. Wei gave a speech about how they had proved with strength that even small places can raise a golden phoenix. The reporters told Chen to look at the camera. He was more tired of this than the match itself. The next day, in the principal's office, he made it to the headlines. Wei sincerely thanked him. He gave him the crystal as promised. He was glad to give it to him, especially if it would help him. The boss celebrated receiving that. Wei expected that the specialized institutes of the inner district would soon be reaching out to him. He told him that once he got in, he shouldn't forget Leidian. Chen assured him that he won't forget. When he left the principal's office, he noticed someone outside. It was his friends. He was surprised to see those three when it was school break. They came to find him. Jaru comfortably placed his arm around Chen's shoulder while expressing that he didn't expect so soon that after the match ended, schools already sent out admission notices. And they turned out to be from the 5 great academies. They had been all admitted to the 5 academies. Chen congratulated him. He believes that with his skills, it would be strange if they didn't want him. Jiaru replied that it was all thanks to him. And as his underlings, he claimed that their goals won't be so short-sighted. He imagined that one day, they would be great partners. Chen asked what he meant. Xiaoxia translated for him that it meant that Jiaru would be counting on him. Even though courses weren't shared between academies, they could still hang out during free time. She promised to come find him to hang out. Chen was happy with that. He replied that being alone was boring. He looked forward to sparring with them in the future, too. Someone arrived and approached him. It was Tian. She asked if she could join them, too. She was determined to become stronger, too. Tian entered the room and was impressed. Her eyes sparkled. She asked if she's really allowed to train there. She can't believe that he really took her request seriously. She thanked him. Chen replied that it was nothing. He just mentioned it to the principal, and he agreed right away. She thanked the principal and everyone else for letting her use the equipment. The principal thought of getting rid of the honors class restrictions so all the students can use the training equipment freely. He realized that a lot of things needs to be reformed, including future educational benefits. Renovating the school was also on the list. Thanks to the prize money from winning the regional exchange tournament, he can finally do the things he always wanted to do. He acknowledged that it was all thanks to everyone's hard work. He thanked them all. They all smiled warmly. But Jiaru had to admit that it sucks that the principal waited until after he graduates to make the school that nice. He wouldn't get to enjoy any of it. Wenhao told him to shut up because he's ruining the moment. Principal Wei told them that they're always welcome to come back and visit. Xiaoxia got curious why Tiantian suddenly had the urge to train so hard, especially when the school's already on break after the tournament. Jiaru saw them and got curious when the two of them got close. Tiantian blushed as she explained that she always thought she doesn't have any talent, so she just let things be, but seeing them fight so hard for their dreams made her want to be cool like them. She's more confident in her academic skills, so she planned to apply to the 5 great academies as a cultural specialist. She only needed to be level 2 for that track. And the deadline is in a month. She wanted to give it her all, even if she failed. Her story made Xiaoxia sob. She promised to help her with everything she could. She had faith that she could do it. Tiantian thanked her. Jiaru offered to help too. Then he asked what Chen's plans were. He asked if he had decided on any schools yet. Chen admitted that he hasn't received any acceptance letters yet. That was a surprise. Jiaru asked why when he got his letter the day after the tournament ended. They even got accepted into the 5 great academies, so there's no way that no school wouldn't scout Chen. He had no idea either. Principal Wei informed him that it was also something he would like to discuss. He gave him a red envelope. It was the acceptance letter that just arrived that day. As Jiaru expected, there was no way that no school would want Chen. He encouraged him to hurry up and see which of the 5 great academies was it. It was an invitation from the Dawnbreaker Blade Oracle Specialized Academy, addressed to Chen. There was an instruction that if he accepts, he had to keep the card safe and report to the academy with it by September 16th, 2026, but if he wishes to decline, he could just simply break the card, and his eligibility would automatically be voided. They were all surprised by Jiaru's loud voice. Jiaru was shocked because Dawnbreaker Academy was the one that walks all over the 5 great academies. Chen asked what he meant, so he explained that among all the Oracle academies in the country, there were 5 that were recognized as the best. Those were the Morningstar Academy, Watchers Academy, Red Lion Academy, Azure Sky Academy, Alpha Academy. Each of those academies was a symbol of authority and power, possessing the highest privileges. However, the one and only academy that stands above all 5 of them was the Dawnbreaker Academy. If Dawnbreaker wanted a student, they got to pick first. Even the 5 great academies had to get in line. Chen asked why there were only 5 best academies when Dawnbreaker was also a prestigious one. Principal Wei explained that it was because the Dawnbreaker Academy's value can't be measured on the same scale as the 5 great academies. It was a school founded specifically to subjugate fishers. According to a central government confidentiality agreement, the existence of fishers wasn't supposed to be disclosed in outer sectors. But they all earned access to the inner sector, so a brief mention should be fine. Tiantian doesn't have access to the inner sector yet, so she asked if she should step out for a minute. Principal Wei told her that there's no need as long as she won't repeat what she hears. A fisher was a vast world filled with creatures whose strength was comparable to oracles. Because the fishers are two-way, creatures can also come out from them. If they escape, the consequences would be unimaginable. So when a fisher appears, oracles are needed to go inside and subjugate these creatures. Although subjugating fishers can bring great fame and fortune, the danger was also beyond imagination. Principal Wei was once a member of a fisher subjugation team, but during one mission, their team suffered heavy casualties. In the end, after one of their core members got injured and left with serious side effects, the team's whole morale shattered and they were forced to disband. While other academies also require students to deal with fishers to pass the advancement exams, the difficulty and casualty rate for the Dawnbreaker Academy was the highest by far. So he encouraged Chen to think carefully about whether he really wanted to go. The academy only has priority recruitment rights. Even if he refuses their offer, it won't stop other schools from scouting him. He also didn't want him to walk to his death without knowing the risks. Chen expressed that he wanted to go. It was a palace where he can get stronger and make money, so there's no way he'd pass that up. Principal Wei expected him to say that. He could tell he's going to become an incredible warrior. Jiaru grinned and expressed that they won't fall behind. As long as they all get strong enough together, they won't have to worry about those fishers. Chen agreed. Then Jiaru noticed that the deadline was on the 16th. It was already the 6th, so he only had 10 days to report. It was a surprise because usually they would get half a year break to prepare. Principal Wei explained that Dawnbreak Academy operates on its own terms. They can't be measured using the standards of a traditional school. Chen had to get ready right away, so she apologized to Tiantian that he couldn't help with the training. Xiaoxia told him not to worry about it because he could count on them with that. He went back to his room and started to list the things he had to bring. At that point, the boss came out, along with the crystal. The boss poked the crystal with its fingernails. It sank deep, and then it removed the mystical energy around the crystal. Then the crystal fell and shattered. Chen was surprised to see what happened on his crystal. The shattered crystal made him cry because he planned to sell it for some cash. The boss explained that he took the power from inside it since the stone itself was worthless. Then he remembered that Chen had to take care of something in school, so he asked how it went. Chen informed him that he got accepted into Dawnbreaker Academy. They say it has the best resources, so it was the perfect place to get stronger and pay off his debts. The only catch was that he'll have to subjugate fishers. He heard they were so dangerous that even oracles had to be wary. The boss told him there's nothing to be afraid of in the fishers, since oracles and fishers were essentially the same thing. It was because the star energy that makes them oracles came from fissures. To Chen, that sounded terrifying, so he asked if he had any rewards that could help him stay alive. He also pointed out that one of the wishes had been completed. It seemed like he thought of the boss like a genie, where he just held out his hand and expected things. Though some of the boss's wishes were in the fissures, so he decided to help him out. He recovered a bit of his power through the crystal, so he had enough to give him the reward. He warned the kid to brace himself. The fragment of creative authority connected with the authority holder. It detected the authority holder's body, which was at E4. Then it acquired the authority holder's identity. It reconfigured authority holder's structure conversion and completed the optimal reinforcement of authority holder's structure. It detected residual star energy, which it automatically converted to levels. The level conversion was successful, so he leveled up to rank E, level 6. Once it was completed, Chen acquired the fragment of creative authority. He asked what that thing was, so the info was presented to him. It was one of the power fragments of the demon god of creation, Sathoth, which grants the holder the ability to create power. He asked who that demon of God was and what it had done to his body. The boss explained that Sathoth was his old friend, and the creative authority was a gift from her. It can tap into the authority holder's potential and create powers best suited for them. It can even change their race or physical body. The rewards he gave him before weren't necessarily a good fit for him, so he decided to give him a piece of the creative authority. So from then on, Chen could create his own powers. Chen argued that if it was just to level up, he didn't have to give him something so complicated. The boss called him a fool for thinking levels are everything. For oracles, levels only affect their basic physical stats, but if their potential was mediocre, they won't get that strong no matter how high their level was. So, he gave the creative authority because he was afraid that Chen would awaken some garbage potential. If he's too weak, then he'd be useless. Chen remembered one contestant, Qin, who awakened her Esper-type potential early. He realized that her special ability was the power of her potential, and compared to that, combat skills seemed common and ordinary. He knew that if he's going to be subjugating fissures, potential was definitely more important. Otherwise, he'd struggle against even a single monster. The power of creative authority was usually related to the authority holder's own perception. The boss knew he'd understand it if he tried. Chen couldn't feel his body absorbing star energy anymore. It looked like the fragment really did modify his body. Even the old parchment-style system window had changed to look like a video game from before he was transported there. It looks way more familiar that he instantly knew how to use it. It showed his name and his bloodline of being a human oracle. His potential was locked. His level was at E6 with 30 constitution and 0 strength, agility, spirit, and divine sense. Perception was unlocked, and he had 994 remaining evil god wishes. Since it had a status bar, it made him wonder if it had a shop and other functions too. He was informed that the exchange shop was locked until he reached D rank level 7. It was the same for other functions like rank up and management. He had no choice but to level up first. Even if he wanted to level up, he couldn't because he doesn't have any soul. Soul is a mysterious substance extracted from fissure creatures that can be converted into power. The boss saw his reaction, so he asked why. He informed him that he's missing the key item for leveling up. It seems that he had to go to a fissure to get it, but the dilemma was that he couldn't level up by absorbing star energy anymore. At his current strength, if he goes in, he'll probably be carried out. The boss sighed and complained that he's always in so much trouble, and he was stuck with him. So, since another wish had been completed, he decided to give him one last thing. He acquired the Kadra's demonic armor. The energy wrapped around his body. It was a unique armament, a fragment of Kadra's demonic armor. It is one of the armor fragments containing the power of the heroic spirit king, Kadra. It has the property of being soul-bound, requiring no physical wear. It has an exclusive skill called demonic armor manifestation. It summons demonic armor onto the body to block attacks. It increases strength while manifested. Chen was pleased with it. Not only does it defend against attacks, but it also increases his strength. It only covers a small area, but with stats like that, he had nothing to complain about. The boss was sad that the rewards used up all the power he just saved up. He just considered it as an advance investment. He told Chen to work hard to pay him back. Chen was motivated to work his ass off. The next day, there was a taxi parked outside, so someone asked Chen if he's leaving that day. It was Principal Wei along with his friends. He replied, yes. It was only a one-day trip to the mid-level city, but he wanted to get to the academy and start training as soon as possible. Principal Wei knew that once he entered the mid-city, he won't be back for a while. He told him to contact him if he needs help with anything. That reminded him of the favor he wanted to ask. He requested him to occasionally check on his mother at the hospital, and if he saw his sister, he wanted him to give the letter to her. Principal Wei knew it was important, so he asked why he wouldn't give it to her himself. He replied that they were on bad terms, so it was not a good time for him to see her. The principal understood and kept the letter. He promised to look after his family so he could focus on his studies. Jiaru promised to find him in half a year, and by then, he expected Chen to show them the ropes. Xiaoxia told him to keep in touch. He said goodbye to them. He arrived at the airport. The staff asked him if he was there to process a visa and flight to the mid-level city. She asked him for the reason for his travel. He replied that it was for school enrollment. Deep inside, the staff was confused because it was still vacation time. She requested him for proof of his enrollment. He asked if the card would suffice. She was surprised to see the ID card for the Dawnbreak Academy. She had been working in the outer sector for a long time, and it was the first time she had ever seen one. She couldn't believe that the kid who looked so ordinary was a student accepted into a Dawnbreak Academy. She was staring at him. So he panicked that the card wasn't enough and told her that he had the invitation letter too. She apologized and clarified that it was more than enough. She guided him to go left and follow the flight attendant's instructions once he's on board. He asked if he wouldn't need a ticket. She explained that with his status, travel to mid-level city was free of charge. He only needs to purchase a ticket when returning from there. The plane took off. He couldn't believe he was seated in first class. He assumed it was another perk of being admitted to Dawnbreaker Academy. As he thought of that academy, he sincerely hoped that it wouldn't disappoint. The pilot announced that the flight will arrive at the mid-level city at approximately 10 a.m. the next day, at Dawnbreaker Academy. Chen arrived at the entrance. From there, he could tell it was so grand and quiet. It doesn't feel like a school at all. He approached the receptionist to ask where he should register. The staff asked for his card. The staff saw his name and warmly greeted him. They had been waiting for him to come. He ushered him to the school. Chen was confused why they would wait for him when he doesn't know anyone there. The staff clarified that someone else was looking for him. They arrived in front of a stone. He was instructed to stand in the middle and touch the stone monument with his black card. Chen couldn't believe there was such a place on campus. He asked if it was some kind of hidden passage. The staff told him that he would soon find out. He could feel dizzy, but was told to bear with it. As soon as he tapped the card, he was teleported. He was astonished that the place earlier wasn't even the actual school. The staff informed him that Dawnbreaker Academy was located far away, so they had to use those teleportation stones. Since he just got there, he would have a lot of time to explore later, and the person who was waiting for him was already there. A few minutes later, they arrived at the place. The staff brought him to Lin En. She was having her tea while two students stood by her side. She asked him if he remembers her. He replied yes, and he had been wanting to find a chance to thank her. He just never expected that she would be his senior. The violet-haired, standing beside En, thanked the staff for his hard work and informed him that she had already transferred the money. He left them to chat. Chen approached her and asked if there's any specific reason she asked for him. The man standing beside En stopped him. He told him that he's a pleb from the outer sector and had no permission to get close to En. En warned this guy, Kui Ming Cheng, to watch his mouth, especially when Chen was his guest. Then she invited Chen to sit down so they could talk. He replied to just outright tell him what she wanted to say. She sighed and was forced to make it quick. She expressed that her guild was short on members, so she wanted him to join. And for the price, she offered 30 million. He couldn't believe she's offering 30 million right off the bat. She heard that the price for hiring a powerhouse for a guild depends on their strength and potential, but it's usually hard to even break 1 million. Ming Cheng asked her if she's insane. For that price, she could hire 3 top-tier B ranks or an entry-level A rank oracle. He argued that the piece of trash from the outer sector wasn't worth a fraction of that. He complained that the joke had gone too far. She yelled his name. She glared at him and asked him when did she ever need him to make decisions for her. He got terrified and tried to explain that it wasn't what he meant. Deep inside, he's intrigued on who the kid was for her to protect him like that. The violet-haired woman just watched them. Since Chen just arrived at the central sector, she assumed that he hasn't joined a guild yet. It was the highest amount she could offer, so she hoped he would receive her sincerity. Naturally, Chen was tempted since it was beyond his wildest dreams. But at the moment, he was just an E-rank newbie, so he couldn't understand why she would do that. They were interrupted by an announcement. All students who just arrived were called to gather in the assembly hall within the hour. It meant that the last new student had arrived. She told him he could leave his luggage there and just pick it up later. She also acknowledged that the guild invitation was sudden, so it's normal for him to be hesitant. She encouraged him to think it over, and after the new student orientation, there would be a senior freshman pairing session. When the time comes, she wants him to choose her as his mentor. She wants him to see it as a repayment for saving him. She added that having someone to help him adapt to the new environment wasn't a bad thing for him either. He replied that he would think about it. She was pleased with that. Then she requested Shi to take him to the assembly hall. At the assembly hall, a male student with blonde shoulder-length hair couldn't believe that he was the last to arrive. He reasoned that it's natural for main characters to make a special entrance. He was glad that all his hard work to get into the school wasn't for nothing. He heard the young lady of the Lin family was there as well. He expected that a naive little girl like that should be easy to control. He planned to get her on his side to make their business grow. Then he saw a pathetic-looking slob. It was Chen. He immediately judged that the freshman wouldn't be that great, which was perfect for him, because it meant less competition. He decided to sit right next to him and expected their contrast to be brutal. The teacher saw that everyone was there. This professor was Zhang Hui, and he'll be their instructor for the year. He also gave a disclaimer that they shouldn't expect him to teach them everything. After all, he was a very busy man. His job was to arrange assessments and record their scores. Aside from a few mandatory activities, the school won't impose any restrictions on their schedule. He warned them that since they were all chosen by Dawnbreaker, they must have been considered geniuses in the past. But there they need to forget their past glories as they are nothing more than freshmen at Dawnbreaker. They would be facing something completely new and unknown, and that is the Fisher. Fissure was like a hunt. Oracles were the hunters, but they could also be the prey. In there, all existing weapons from the human world were useless. Only the immense physical strength of an oracle and weapons made from fissure materials can deal damage, and Dawnbreaker, which has gathered top-tier oracles from all over, was a solid line of defense against the fissures. Basically, they are warriors on the front line. They should find more materials in the library. The training hall also had combat simulation for fighting the fissures. Each week, teachers from different specializations will hold lectures. They could arrange their own schedule and learn whatever they want. The school had no mandatory requirements. The more they understand about the fissures, the more they'll have a chance to improve, get stronger, and survive. If they can't adapt on their own, then they better get the hell out of there. He didn't see fear in anyone's eyes. He could tell they have ambitions that they're willing to risk their lives for. With that, they passed the first assessment. He gave them a reward. Each of them received a skill stone. It lets them learn a combat skill just by absorbing it. Those were incredibly expensive, so for most of them, it was their first time seeing one. The skill stone was for a general combat. They crushed it, and automatically their body would learn the skill. Chen did that and acquired Wise Eye. It allows automatic sensing and recognition of the fissure. The skill allows oracles to understand the script found within fissures. It can be considered a great help for their future expeditions. Hui advised them not to get too excited because the school had arranged more assessments for them. The first was the entrance test for new students, which requires them to clear on low-rank fissures. Second, they must reach D rank and awaken their potential within half a year and earn 100 academic credits within a year. The students got worried because they're only at E rank, and it was great pressure to reach D rank within 6 months. Although there was no required order, Hui still suggested that they awaken their potential before entering a fissure. For the blonde guy, reaching D rank shouldn't be a problem because he's already at E5. He assumed that no one in their batch would have a higher level than him. While Chen, who was at E6, couldn't level up using supplements, so he had to find a way into a fissure. Hui told them to settle down. While reaching D rank in 6 months was difficult, the supplements provided by the school were sold at a price far below the market rate, so they didn't need to worry about resources. As for the most important issue of academic credits, the school would also arrange for mentors to help them. He called them in. One of them was a silver-haired woman. Everyone's jaw dropped. Hui introduced the seniors, and they will serve as their invaluable mentors during their freshman assessment. I informed them that each freshman can choose a senior to be their mentor. The mentors would be in charge of arranging their entrance test. The students' attention was on N. The others who didn't know asked who she was. The student in front of Chen informed his seatmate that he was the heir to the Shenhua Guild. They all wanted to get on her good side to get into Shenhua. Chen overheard them. One brave student called N and expressed that he came there for her. She wanted her to be his mentor. She noticed his stance and found out that he's a strength type. She expressed that she's a magic type, so there's not much she could teach him. Another freshman student told her that he may be specializing in strength, but he already decided to dual spec in strength and magic, so he hoped to receive her guidance. She reasoned that she's a pure mage, so she doesn't know anything about strength class. Mages started to express their desires one by one. They saw how high the standards of one of the 4 great guilds were. Those who weren't confident decided to pick another senior. It looked like N was a headache for the professor. He reminded her that she's required to take on at least 1 freshman, otherwise he had to assign the last remaining student to her by default. She replied yes. Then she glared at someone. Chen sensed it, but he didn't know what to say. The blonde guy beside him was glad that the losers had been filtered. He was confident that with his looks and talent he won't be rejected, but even if he was, as the last one left, he expected to be assigned to the young lady of the Lin family. Chen stood up and called N. He expressed that he doesn't desire knowledge. Instead, he wanted to stand by her side. He asked if she could be his mentor. It made her blush a little. They all looked down on him, but to their surprise, N accepted him. With a bright smile on her face, she claimed that he's the one. The blonde guy couldn't believe it. She only accepted one, so it made them question what her selection standards were. At the mission hall, Chen followed N. While doing so, he asked why. When she was the heir to the Shenhua Guild, one of the 4 great guilds in a guild of that size shouldn't be short on high-level oracles, so he couldn't understand why she would offer such a high price to recruit a newbie like him. She admitted that she's not only recruiting him for the guild, but also for her own reasons. She planned to tell him the details after the test. His first priority should be how to pass the entrance test that she arranged. She introduced them to his teammates for the test. The first to speak was Su Han, a C-rank level 5. Her potential is Shadow Veil, and she's the supervisor for the test. She will not participate in combat at any point unless a team member's life is in danger. She reminded them that if she had to step in and save them, the test would be deemed a failure. Next was Lu Wei, a D-rank level 1. Her potential is recovery, so she can heal everyone's injuries. Another team member was Zhao Lin, a D-rank level 1. Her potential is wind-fused, and she'll be providing long-range support. The only guy aside from Chen was Li Rui, a D-rank level 3, and his potential was armament enhancement. He's also the leader of the team. He warned them that if they wanted to pass, they should listen to his commands. He noticed that Chen wasn't carrying any gear, so he asked if he awakened some kind of special potential. Chen introduced himself and expressed that he's an E rank, so he hasn't awakened any potential yet. That was surprising news. Rui couldn't believe he's taking the test without practicing first. He questioned how the academy formed the groups and suspected that it was to drag them down. Lin replied that groups had been set, so there's no point in complaining. Wei agreed, and it could take some time if they reapplied. Rui had no choice but to accept it, and as long as he didn't get in his way. He told them to keep an eye on Chen. Wei told Chen to stick close to her once he entered the fissure. He assured her that he had combat experience. She sighed and answered that without a weapon or a potential, he can't even hurt the creatures in a fissure. She thought of him as arrogant. Rui went to the staff and informed them that his team is applying for assessment. Their application got approved and instructed them to go to room 1. He received a world tree fragment, which was used to open a fissure passage. The fissure had been opened, so they headed out. Chen noticed how dense the fluctuation of the stair energy was. He hoped to find the key item he needed to level up. They arrived at the gloomy grotto. Immediately they had been spotted. They went into standard formation. Chen noticed how they got into formation in an instant. Their test had begun. Han wished them luck. Then she vanished because of the stealth mode. Rui warned them about the incoming enemies. It was a pack of D-rank shadow demon wolves. Now it made sense that they came at once. It was because they had a sharp sense of smell. Lin used a combat arrow and hit the wolves that Rui was blocking using his shield. Then, he used a frenzied slash at them. He acted so arrogantly that he charged too far ahead. The wolf got into the backline and scratched Lin. Wei saw it and planned to heal her. But behind her, a wolf was closing in, jaws ready to snap.
Thank you all for watching. Please watch this next Giga Chad video, and I'll see you guys next time. Also, support the channel by joining the Summon Club membership. You can also support by just liking the video and being awesome.